Bring in, as promised, Academy Award-winning documentary filmmaker Michael Moore. Michael, good evening.
Good evening, Keith.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is Rachel Maddow. Good evening, Rachel.
Good evening, Keith.
There's been a spike in the desire to own guns in Connecticut. Statewide, over 90,000 guns have been authorized for sale. You know how I feel about it.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Good evening, my fellow patriots, my fellow Americans. It's that hour. It's 9 p.m. Central Time, and you're listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join us live on the web at www.themidnightpatriot.com or, of course, patriotfb.com for those social-minded guys, gals. That's right. You can find us live. We're broadcasting actually from patriotfb.com. Give you a little bit of news here in a few minutes about that, what's going on with the site. Got great news. Great news. A dream is coming true. And we all benefit. We all benefit from this. So we'll talk about that. But if you'd like to join in the conversation, give us a call, 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. The lines will be open in the first hour. In the second hour, we're going to have presidential candidate 2016, Stone Anthony, is going to be joining us. That means it's Tuesday. So he'll be joining us online to talk about issues, topics, and everything. But before then, we've got a lot of news to cover. We had a little time here at the Midnight Patriot to, with all of our other duties, our other obligations to the Patriot community, we were able to put together a pretty good little news stack. Feeling, I don't know what it was. I might have been under the weather. I don't know. Maybe they slipped me a Mickey, the libtards. Who knows? Maybe it's my fluorinated water. Maybe I need to change out my water filter. Don't know. But I'm refreshed. I'm ready to come at you with some news. And, we talked about this last night, but we're going to give you some news articles that you're not going to hear about on mainstream media, but they've been vetted. And when I mean they've been vetted, they're true. This isn't tinfoil conspiracy theory stuff. This is it. We have their own words. Things that you're not going to hear. And I intentionally last night and today actually listened to the news. I know. I need to go drink. If I drank, I need to go drink me some. After that. But to see if they would report on it. Of course they did. So, we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about the shooting in Colorado. Probably tell you some things that you didn't know. Things that mainstream media is not going to tell you. We're also going to be talking about a little lot. You got to be careful what you read. Not what you read, but what you sign up for. Found a little one-liner in the Medicaid program out in Oregon. Yeah. We're going to talk about this president. Of course, he met with the CEOs. I wouldn't call them geeks of technology. I would say the CEOs of technology. Tried to hijack that meeting, and, obviously it didn't work out too well for him. Now, he actually did pick up a former executive of Microsoft, is now going to be taking over healthcare.gov. So with that acquisition, I'll kind of break down what to expect with healthcare.gov. But it's been a great day. When we get back from the break here, we're going to kind of fill you in on what's going on at patriotfb.com. That's patriotfb for freedom, brother. .com. If you haven't done so, go out there, sign up. You're going to see a lot of changes on the patriotfb.com site. We have some new horses in the stable. We want to use that term, that phrase. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get back from the break. But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join us live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time or on the web at www.themidnightpatriot.com. You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join us live. It's live every Monday through Friday from wrong part of the season. Should have done that in October. But join us live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time. And on the web at www.themidnightpatriot.com or at our social media site, patriotfb.com. That's patriotfb.com. If you haven't had a chance to go out there and take a look at it, take it a spin, kick its tires. It is a social media site made for the Patriot by us Patriots. Now, read our terms of services. Read our privacy statements. I don't want to go over them, shameless plug, but you got to go out there. It's a great site. It's getting better every day. We're adding more and more features. This week, I was approving code in our beta, in our test lab. So we're going to start releasing that here this week. One of the things that we are definitely going to do is that we are going to put a document management system up there. So all the documents and things that we talk about on these shows, you can actually go up there and actually read them yourself. It's all about knowledge. It's all about sharing knowledge. That means all of the FOIA requests that we have, all of that, things that we use to put together our shows, to produce our shows. You'll have that. So that's, look forward to that coming out. We are going to be putting up a eBay-like site so you guys can auction off. You guys, gun broker, you guys familiar with those guys? Something similar to that. So you can auction off firearms. Our marketplace is already set up. You can post things on there right now. So if you got something to sell, we don't charge for that. If you got something to sell, put it up there. Who knows? Might have a fellow patriot that just might buy it. But the most noticeable change for those that are on the front page, we have effectively added 3 other podcasts. We're going to start out in the morning, every morning, Monday through Friday. You'll be able to listen to American Voices Now from 8 a.m. until 10 a.m. Then, of course, followed up at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. All times are Central Standard. 2 p.m., you'll be able to listen to J.J. McCarty, his show. And then on Tuesdays, as you can see, you also have Cowboy Logic Radio, which is going to be airing every Tuesday from 8 p.m. until whatever. And then, of course, you got, to round off the evening, you got the Midnight Patriot Radio Show podcast, from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Now, like I said, our goal is to become a one-stop shop for all things Patriot. For all things Patriot. Your social media site, your news site, your multimedia site, your document site. Everything. Everything. There's no reason for you to go anywhere else. Nowhere. No reason. Now, I know you guys are still going to keep your Facebook accounts, and that's fine. That's fine. But when they flip the switch, where are you going to go? Where are you going to go? We'll still be there. We'll still be there. And, to kind of let you know that we're still going to be there, we just, as of last week, we have 5 separate servers throughout the nation. And then on top of those are feeding out to over 109 content delivery networks, systems throughout the world. 3 separate providers. We don't want to put our eggs all in one basket. So we have several servers, and and we're growing. Like I said, we're adding more podcasts. So if you know of a podcaster, if you have a podcaster or a radio show that you listen to that you like, let us know. Let us know. It's all about the message. I've said this. It's not about the personalities. We're not in competition with each other. We're here to bring a message to you, the fellow patriot. The message that you're not going to get from mainstream media. They're not going to talk about it. And just to prove that, I had to kind of sit out there and kind of, check it out today. Had to do a little recon of our enemy. And they are our enemy. Call them whatever you want. They're the enemy. So I had to do a little recon today. between approving code and setting up deployments and stuff. Had to do a little recon. So I was listening to some mainstream media today. And one of the things, it was actually a shock to me because I've been kind of in a bubble with the websites and everything. And I do apologize to those that go out to the Midnight Patriot. We haven't updated that site in quite a while. It's just been, obviously you can listen to the shows and everything, but most of our posts have been to Patriot FB. And no, the Midnight Patriot's not going anywhere. We're still alive and kicking. It's just that we're trying to get the Patriot FB site stood up, but working on that and getting more content. And that takes up a lot of time. Takes a lot of time. But we'll get there. But you can still get the latest shows at the Midnight Patriot, our show. But going back to the news, it was dropped on me yesterday, in last night's show. And so I kind of scanned mainstream media, and of course they didn't pick it up. And for those that don't know, the Colorado shooting at Apeo High School, there's a massive amount of revisionism going on in the media. First, they're saying 14 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. The whole incident took about 80 seconds. And what you're not going to hear about, you hear about the young man who shot the young lady. Our prayers go out to her and her family. But the thing that you don't hear about is he was stopped dead in his tracks by an armed guard. What? That's right. He was confronted by an armed guard at the school. And it was that confrontation that caused him to take his life, thus saving many more lives. But you'll never hear about that in mainstream media. You'll never hear about that. That's just one thing that we picked up on today. The other thing, too, is that, a little line in the Eugene Medicaid law. For those that don't know, if you accept Medicaid services in Oregon, now, we got to read some of the other states. They can actually, when you pass away, they can actually lay claim to your estate. That's right, your estate. So all you people out there that are getting Medicaid services and stuff, and you think, I'm getting a free ride. No. Grandma, grandpa? No. And to be honest with you, who this really screws the most is the millennials. The young ones. Because they have more to lose, because this law was just enacted. Of course, it was uncovered, so now they're scrambling to try to cover it up. So, another thing, you're not going to hear about that in mainstream news. Not at all. No, not at all. You're going to hear about some football player that cried off the thing or whatever. Whatever. But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show podcast. You like to, give us a call, join in the conversation. Give us a call, 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. It's all about the conversation. Hey, caller, can you give us your first name and where you're calling from? Hello, caller.
Good evening, Jeff. This is Tim. How are you?
Hey, Tim. How are you, my friend?
Okay. I didn't get your message until today.
That's fine. It happens. I don't really, I really don't get on Facebook anymore. We spend most of our time on patriotfb.com. It's a little bit more secured. I don't have to worry about the sysadmins at Facebook monitoring what I'm doing and what I'm typing and stuff. So no, I
understand.
Yep. So For those that don't know, Tim is a regular. On Mondays he's going to be a regular, hopefully. Mondays, typically are reserved for firearm conversations and stuff, but we had a little cross in communication and everything. So, Tim, do you have some time tonight? Can I pepper you with some questions?
Sure.
Fire
away.
Fire away. There we go. So one of the questions I have, and I know that you're long range, you're an F-class shooter, and for those that don't know, F-class is kind of like an open long range type of classification or type of competition for guys that shoot. Now, typically F-class, what's the minimum distance that you guys shoot at, and what's the maximum distance that you guys shoot at?
Well, actually, there are reduced targets for F-class competition starting at 300 yards. Now, granted, a lot of people think of 300 yards as being a fair distance, and I guess for somebody who's new to rifle shooting, it is. It's interesting, not to deviate here or anything, but I wrote in a little part in my second book about how so many of these gun riders, they only shoot at 100 yards.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I mean, that's in my second book. But having said that, yes, F-class, there are F-class competitions at 300 yards. They shoot at a reduced target. And then typically the F-class shooting begins at 600 yards. Yeah. That is what the NRA considers mid-range shooting. And actually, mid-range shooting starts at 500 yards, but F-class starts at 600 yards and then goes back to 1,000.
Yeah. So the listener, I just want to kind of paint it. Well, I want to stop you there so I can paint this picture for the listener out there. So next time you go out to a football game or whatever, take a football field, right? Look at the football field and multiply that by 6. That's where they're starting. Typically, that's where that's where the F-class shooter starts, and then of course he just said 1,000 yards. That's where, it goes. And I mean, so you can imagine the amount. These are guys. We always talk about. You always hear about the military snipers and everything like that. But you guys are, a sniper, typically a military. And I don't know if you know the answer to this, but like a military sniper, what do they normally practice or shoot at? What's their distances? Is it about the same, or is it?
Well, the distance is one thing, but then again, the target, what you're shooting at, is another matter in itself.
Sure.
Now, being a Marine Corps veteran, and I was not a sniper in the Marine Corps. I was just as a matter of fact, when I was enlisted, I was an office clerk, and when I was an officer, I was just a grunt. But having said that, the Marine Corps snipers, they practice back to 1,000 yards, but they'll shoot closer too. Also, they'll start at probably about 200 yards and work back to 1,000. Same thing with the Army. I've had the opportunity in the past to shoot with a number of the guys from the Army Marksmanship Unit at Fort Benning, and they are the ones that train the snipers, the Army snipers at the Army Sniper School at Fort Benning in Georgia.
Sure.
So yeah, they shoot back to 1,000 yards also.
Yeah. Now, of course,
what I'm saying, but like, just to briefly finish, the target is another thing. The snipers usually train and shoot at full-size silhouettes.
Mm-hmm.
Much the same as what's referred to as the, I believe it's called the B-45, which is the full-size black silhouette that police officers traditionally shot at. I don't know if they still do. But anyway, but with F-class, okay, the target is half, the scoring rings are half the size of what the standard 600-yard NRA target is. And what that means is that the standard NRA 600-yard target, the 10 ring, which is what you're trying to hit, is a foot in diameter, and the X ring is 5.5 inches in diameter. The X ring being used to settle ties.
Yeah. Because
X's count for 10 points also. With an F-class target, the 10 ring is the size of the X ring on the standard target. So the 10 ring is 5.5 inches in diameter. That is what you're trying to hit from 600 yards away. And the X ring is 3 inches in diameter.
Yeah. So it's fair to say that you have to be highly skilled, I want to say you're part of a precision machine, shooting F-class shooters. I just want to kind of stress to the listeners out there that when you compete, and you've been at Fort Perry, and you've competed at the national level, correct? As a F-class shooter, as a shooter.
Well, I've never shot. I have never shot F-class at Perry. I've shot F-class at locally.
Okay.
Yeah, I have competed on several years at Camp Perry.
Okay.
In the both the during DCM week, which is now called CMP week, or board week, which is traditionally referred to as is board week,
mm-hmm.
and then also in the NRA National Championship.
Yeah. Okay. So
that's just a standard 2, 3, and 600 yards.
Yeah, standard. It's funny you say standard, because to me it's just like, it's. I mean, unless obviously most of our listeners out there, are used to looking at a scope at maybe 100 yards, deer hunting or whatever it is, and you just can't fathom. I mean, I know the range that to shoot at, and I've looked down range, and it's just to you can't fathom looking at these targets until you actually do it, until you actually get your eye on the scope and kind of look down. The amount, like I said, it's just the amount of precision and the skill, and heartbeats throw the gun off enough. I mean, it's incredible to be able to, shoot at that level.
You also have to understand something, that standard NRA competition, there's no scope. It's all iron sights. So you're shooting at 2, 3, and 600 yards with just iron sights. Now, granted, if you're shooting match rifle category, you're using, match sights which are, quarter-minute adjustable, and they have an aperture, and a lot of guys have, now there are little inserts that you can put in a rear sight where, it's a little lens that you can put in the rear sight, so it's almost like a little bitty mini scope. Yeah, I mean, basically, it's for individuals that are not, do not have great eyesight, and it aids them to focus on the front sight, which is, it's the number one thing that you have to do when you're using iron sights, is you focus on the front sight. You don't focus on the target, you don't focus on the rear sight, you focus on the front sight. So, still, even standard, what I refer to as standard NRA competition at 2, 3, and 600 yards, that takes a good deal of skill also.
See, I thought, I've got to get out there. That's one of the things I gotta get out and do an F-class match and kind of watch, because
anytime you want to hook up, man, let me know.
I know. I gotta get my hours in. But the thing is,
although I will admit that right now, this time of year, I don't spend much time in a range because I'll be the first to admit I'm a fair weather shooter.
Yeah. No,
I've shot more than my share in the rain and the funk and everything else, and I don't care to do it anymore. And if I don't have to, I'm not going to.
Well, I agree with. I mean, it is kind of. We were going to go out to the range this week, but we had the snowstorm. But going back, so now I'm really amazed because I was always assuming that these guys were shooting with scopes, and you're telling me they're shooting irons. And the crazy thing is, like you said, the X, they're hitting an X, and that's now I know like in pistol, shooting and everything, the X is, that's the tiebreaker because they all count as 10, but you count how many X's you hit. So there are actual guys that are consistently hitting X's at that range.
Oh, sure.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. That's just impressive. I mean, I didn't, and they're doing it with iron sights, which is even more so, and doing the calculation. Now, do they have?
I'll tell you this: my personal best for 600 yards is a 194.
Out of a possible what?
And that's with just a match rifle. Now, granted, that's not it's not a perfect score. It's not a 200, but I'm kind of proud of it. 194 out of 200 at 600 yards with a match rifle. That's
What are you shooting? Can I ask?
Well, that was with a match AR that I have.
Okay.
That was an F class. That was just a regular 600 yard. And I shot that at Perry, as a matter of fact.
I got you. Which is really so your sub MOA. You would be that match rifle would be considered definitely sub MOA, right?
Well, the target, like I said, I mean, the standard 600-yard target, the 10 ring is a foot in diameter, so you only have to have a rifle that's capable of 2 minutes of angle accuracy because the 10 ring is 2 minutes. Is 2 minutes of angle at 600 yards. I mean, that's at 200 yards. The 10 ring is 5.5, 5 3/4 inches in diameter. It's almost 6 inches in diameter, so it's 3 minutes of angle. At 200 yards. But
now,
then when you go after you leave 200 yards, then it's always based on 2 minutes of angle for the target for the scoring rings.
Sure. Now,
and then with F class, like I said, with F class, the scoring rings are reduced by half. So then it is you are looking at a rifle, having to have a rifle that you can depend on to shoot minute of angle. Yes, you're absolutely correct. For F class competition, yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, and that's the thing, for the listeners. Also for me, can you kind of break down what minute of angle? What is a minute of angle? So when we're looking, because I know a lot of the Patriot listeners and stuff are, they have their ARs and everything, but I know a lot of them have reached out to me and are showing interest in doing more long range shooting and everything, instead of just the short combat. So what is MOA? What is minute of angle? What does that mean? What does that look like?
Okay, a minute of angle is defined as, all right, there's 360 degrees in a circle, right?
Correct.
And then there's 60 minutes in each degree. So you've got, just off the top of my head, I can't remember exactly what it is, 360 times 60. So you got that many minutes in a circle. Well, it just so happens that one of those minutes, if you were to stand, say you're standing in the center of a circle, and then you've got 360 degrees all the way around you,
mm-hmm.
Well, what does one of those minutes equate to in 100 yards? And it just so happens that one of those 1 minute of angle, 1/60th of a degree equates to 1.04 inches at 100 yards, roughly 1 inch.
Oh, okay.
So that's what when somebody says, well, my gun shoots minute of angle, that means that it will shoot 1 inch groups at 100 yards. But here's the thing. Okay, you can, and I learned this many years ago from when I worked for a barrel maker locally here. You can get any rifle, practically any rifle. I mean, you can just take like even an old Model 94 Winchester in 30-30, and if you play around with the ammo, hand load the ammo yourself, play around with this bullet and that powder and blah, 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 and do everything, you can get just about any rifle to shoot mid of angle at 100 yards. And that is why I wrote in my first book, the true test of accuracy is at 300 yards. Because I have seen, and the barrel maker that I worked for, the same thing. We used to laugh about this. I've seen rifles that shoot 1-inch groups at 100 yards. They'll shoot maybe 2.5 to 2 3/4-inch groups at 200 yards. Mm-hmm. But at 300 yards, they have trouble hitting a basketball.
Okay.
Believe it or not.
No, I can see that.
So that's the thing. And that's what you need. See, you have to have a rifle that is capable of that type of accuracy for F-class, getting back to F-class. You have to have a rifle that's capable of that kind of accuracy, 600 out to 1,000 yards. And that is not something you're going to buy at Gander Mountain.
No, and that's, we're fortunate, and I kind of tell people that we're, where we live, we have three, definitively two of the top barrel makers, I would say, in the country are right here.
Actually,
three,
two, and I know, yes, I know exactly who you're talking about. I know both of them personally. As a matter of fact, Jack Krieger, mm-hmm. owner of Krieger Barrels up in Germantown, he purchased a set of my books, and he wrote a review of my books, and it's posted on my website. But anyway, both he and Boots Obermeyer, in my opinion, my humble opinion, are two of the best barrel makers on the planet. Yeah. Not just in the country, but on the planet.
Yeah. And,
because both of those men, they have been making, Boots has been making rifle barrels since the 50s, the late 50s, and Jack Krieger isn't much behind him. And they both make single-point cut rifle barrels. Mm-hmm. And that, as far as I'm concerned, even though it's the oldest method out there for making rifle barrels, it's still the best.
Yeah.
It's still the best product.
I guess Obermeyer, he's got a process, and I've heard. Well, I don't get in the barrel making technology, but I will tell you, it's funny when you go out, there is no one, and I've learned this because of the guys that I know and stuff. When you go, I've got this barrel or I got that barrel, they go, oh, okay. When you go, I got a Boots barrel, or I got a Krieger, or I got a Badger. Or, but Krieger and Boots, and, when you tell people you got that, no one's going to look at it and go, oh, they're going to kind of,
Badger Barrels is no longer in existence, and that's who I work for. I work for Ernie Stallman.
So you worked for Ernie. Now, I know Badger Barrel, now, didn't they get bought out, and then they turn around and they got bought out, and then something happened where I thought Ernie was back into the business. Maybe I'm wrong. Did Ernie
As far as I know, no.
Okay.
As far as I know, no. Ernie completely sold his whole shop to Wilson Arms.
Yeah.
And Wilson Arms is now operating. I've been there a couple times, and Wilson Arms is now operating that's their satellite facility here in Wisconsin. Wilson Arms being based in Connecticut.
Yeah. Okay, so I thought I knew that there was a bunch of government contracts, but it was my understanding that Ernie was getting back into the business or going back. But to my knowledge, he hasn't.
Well,
then I'll just say two. Then there's only two reputable. No, they're all. I mean, you got Krieger obviously, and then obviously Boots, and or trying to get an Obermeyer barrel is just, it's near impossible. They're out there though. You can get them if you plan ahead, and if I know guys obviously that know, and one of the
they're, as far as I'm concerned, they're on the same level.
Yeah.
And if you have what I refer to as a gas gun, meaning an AR or an M1A or an M1 Garand, if you want a custom barrel for a gas gun, there is no, as far as I'm concerned, there's no better choice than a barrel from Jack Krieger. You can't get any better. And that's another thing that I wrote about in my second book, is that with the proliferation of the AR, when you get an AR barrel from Jack, the barrel extension is already installed. And that is a big consideration, because there are other aftermarket AR barrels out there that do not have the barrel extension installed.
Yeah.
And everything is all, when you buy an AR barrel from Jack Krieger, everything is all timed correctly. The little stud on the barrel extension is in the right place. The gas port is in a groove and not on a land, or half in a groove, half in a land. These are all considerations when you buy a barrel for an AR.
Yeah. No, I without a doubt. I mean, it's funny because you go to the range, and obviously we see a lot of ARs, but you go to the range and you get these guys at 25. Typically you'll set up 25-yard target and let them shoot, and they'll be happy if they're grouping at 25 yards, or they're happy if they're grouping within 2 to 3 inches of each other. And I just kind of shake my head, go at 25 yards, like, okay.
Well, everybody has to start somewhere.
Oh, I know. And I'm not. And what's really crazy? What kills me is that you can get, most AR-15 barrels. I think it's fair to say you can get low-end AR barrels for. I've seen them as low as $98. Most middle tier, the DPMSs, the CMMG barrel or whatever, you can get those about $187. A Krieger, and this is the thing that kills, that I don't want to say kill me when we're talking about firearms, but the funny thing is that you can get a Krieger barrel, for about $300, correct? About $4?
I haven't priced one recently. The last time I purchased one of Jack's barrels, I got it through a friend who has an inn, and I think I paid like $325 for it, and that was a few years ago. But that wasn't a barrel for a gas gun. That was a bolt gun barrel.
Okay.
What I refer to as a stick shift gun.
No, I think last time we looked, we were looking, and they're, I want to say they're in the high $300-$400 range. And to me, I mean, you're looking. Yes, it is a little bit more. It's double the thing, but I mean, you've got a weapon that you can shoot, obviously short range, but you've got, I mean, these things they're precision machines. And of course, obviously when you're going to get a barrel like that, there's some things that you need to do the upper as well to kind of match them up. And there's some things, but that's one thing I just never realized, I never really understood why people, they'll go out and buy a billet lower or whatever, spend, $300 on a billet lower, which a billet lower has nothing to do with the accuracy of the rifle. It's the upper receiver that has more so with the accuracy of the rifle, but then they'll skimp on the upper, so that they got this fancy dancy billet lower.
Actually, when you talk about an AR, what's truly necessary is how the upper and lower receiver match up. I mean, there shouldn't be any. If you're building a match AR, you don't want any slop.
Yes.
In between the two receivers.
Obviously,
the
yes.
upper and lower.
I do know that. I mean, as far, yes, you don't want it, wiggling and all, you want it tight. But like I said, you can get a $90 or an $80 lower, and you can build a high quality match rifle with an $80 lower, but you can't take a $200 upper and do the same thing with it. I mean, it's, and that's just what's crazy is I see guys, like I said, spending $300 on a lower, because it's billet and it's supposed to be, whatever. And then they go out and they put a, $200 or $300 upper on it. And it's just,
well, here's the thing. I mean, if you want to talk about ARs for a minute, here's the thing. A lot of people don't understand this. And that is that, I don't know. I mean, I haven't bothered to count. I mean, it's irrelevant to me how many companies are out there now that are manufacturing ARs.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that there's only about 4 companies that are actually manufacturing the castings.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
All these different companies, XYZ Arms and all this other stuff, they're buying their castings because you can go to one of the foundries that actually manufactures the castings for ARs.
Yeah.
And if you order enough, like let's say, well, I want 150 lowers, you can get your own name on them. That's how that place down in Carpentersville, Our Guns, got those ARs with their name on them. They went and they bought, I don't know, who knows how many AR, strip lower receivers, and they got their name on them. Anybody can do it. You could do it if you want to buy 150 or 200 lowers, and if you have a manufacturer's FFL.
Yep.
you can have your own name put on them. You're Jeff Norton AR.
Yeah. Which, that's why I prefer a billet. And the reason why I like a billet over a forging is not because they're, a lot of people say, well, they're higher quality, no, there's things that you can do to a billet that in a forging that you can't, like you said, there's only 3 or 4 foundries that actually make forging lowers. Well, with a billet, I can make my mag well bigger. I can make the throat bigger. I can make, for acquisitions of magazines, I can actually do things to lighten it up if I wanted to. That you can't
do the same thing with the forging.
Well, the forgings, though, you can't, especially in your magwell. If you like a flared magwell, the other thing too, integration of the trigger guard and stuff, things like that. But you can't. I mean, that's one of the first things I love about billet, and that's what I look is the fact that the magwell is larger, and you can make those, or you can get those larger, so you have a little bit more. Especially you're not as proficient and practice as much as I do for magazine releases and stuff.
Do you now by a billet? Do you know what they're referring to as a billet?
Do I know what they're referring to as a billet? I don't.
Yes.
Well, a billet is that it comes out as it comes out as a billet, and that's what I'm saying. It's not any different. I mean, a billet is a chunk of aluminum, and they cut it out through a CNC machine. Where a forging is where it's a forge process. It's already, when it comes out of the forging machine, it's already got a rough shape, and then there's a finishing. There's still CNC work that has to be done to finish up the rest of the shape.
Right. There's machining involved in both.
Yeah.
The difference is that with a billet, what you're referring to as a billet is it starts out life as one big solid piece of aluminum.
Yep.
Okay, which is an extrusion.
Yes.
Okay, it's that chunk of aluminum is cut out of a piece of bar stock.
Yeah.
Whether you can get aluminum bar stock in like a 1/2 inch diameter up to 6 inches square. It's extruded, which is a process of they take a big huge, a very large piece of aluminum and then squeeze it down through under a tremendous amount of pressure into a bar.
Yeah.
Okay, so then they take this bar and they cut it up evenly into even chunks, and then they stick it into, they mount it in a vise, and then they perform a number of different machining processes in a CNC machining center.
Yeah.
Well, the forging, see, here's the thing. With a forged piece of metal, the molecules are aligned, and they have not been put under any stress. So, in my mind, I would rather have a forged lower than one that's totally machined, because there's been less stress imparted to the material.
Yeah, no, I agree with, like I said, is that it's the benefit for me for the billet. Like there's things in the billet as part of the design of it, like I said, the flared mag well, the integrated trigger guard and stuff that you just can't get in a forged. They just don't come that way, because the foundries, like you said, there's 3 foundries, and they build them all the same way. Now, I guess if you got
you're absolutely correct about that. Yeah, there is more. Truly, I mean, clearly there is more flexibility with, if you're starting out with one big solid piece of aluminum, I mean, you can machine it however you want to, and that, yes, you're absolutely correct about that.
Yeah, and that's what, like I said, and that's what I look for. But it's crazy, because like I said, I'll see these guys out there with, it's just amazing. So, before we digress, let's get back to the F-class shooting and everything. Let's talk about. So now we explained the moment, the minute of angle. So we have that down. Now, when I am looking for a scope, and I know you're more of an iron guy, so tell me if I'm as a buddy of mine would say, I'm getting out of my lane here with you. When I'm looking for a scope, what features, what should I be looking for just in a standard scope? And then if I wanted to get into F-class, because, you hear the names Nikon, you hear Leopold, you Schmidt and Bender, you hear all of these things, but I know why. I've looked through the glass of a Schmidt and Bender on many occasions, and I'll tell you, if I want to sell a car and buy one, I get one. But, what are the features that we should be looking for when we're looking at scopes?
Okay, well, I mean, granted, I do have a lot of experience both with irons and scopes. So,
sure.
So, having said that, first of all, I would like to point out that there's, again, kind of like there's, I don't know how many different makes of scopes there are out there, just like ARs. But here's another thing that a lot of people don't know, and that is that there's only about, I want to say, between 12 and 15. I don't know the exact number, but it's not very many. It's like around a dozen or so manufacturing facilities in the entire world that grind optical quality glass. And a lot of these makes of scopes, they buy their glass from one of these manufacturers. There is not one manufacturing facility in North America that grinds optical quality glass. So any scope that claims to be American made, they're buying their glass from somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, granted, the tubes might be made here in the States, and they might be assembled here in the States, but they're buying their glass from one of these manufacturing facilities.
Okay.
Now, having said that, in answer to your question, the first thing you want to look for is coated optics, because if you're just buying a scope to put on your, 30-06 to go out and shoot a deer, I mean, that's one thing. But if you're going to spend, a half an hour straight staring through a scope at a target 600 yards away, you want coated glass, because your eyes will get really fatigued really fast if you aren't looking through coated lenses.
Okay.
What the coating does is it eliminates the glare. And this not only goes for rifle scopes, but it also goes for spotting scopes. And there are scopes out there that are not coated. You don't have to have some $2,000 scope to shoot F-class. As a matter of fact, I have on my F-class rifle, my 6.5 by 284, I have a scope on there that I paid $125 for.
Mm-hmm.
And it works just fine. It's a Simmons.
Sure.
It's 6 to 24 power, and it's got a mil-dot reticle. Sure. And that's all you need.
Well, and you know, and it's funny because like you said, like the Schmidt and Benders that, you know, $3,000 to $5,000 scopes. What I love, those are great scopes at night. I mean, I was, you know, take those things out and they just pull in so much light at night. It was just unbelievable. The quality of and this is, you know, I would say when I was looking through, it was about midnight, you know, in you know, Wisconsin during the summer, and I was looking, and it was lit up. I mean, the target was.
Was it a full moon?
No, it was like a quarter night. Just a normal. You know, I was in. I'll tell you, I was in the city limits. as we were. So you had street lights, but it was a very impressive sight picture, to say the least. And
well, I'll tell you, I've done the same thing with my with other scopes that cost a lot less, and they do the same thing. A key point that you have to consider is that, first of all, a variable scope is not going to pull in, like you said, as much light as a fixed power scope.
Yeah.
Having said that, what the point that has the most bearing is the front objective. The front objective, the larger the front objective of the scope, the more light it's going to allow into the scope that hits your eye. And when you turn scope up, the higher the power, there's I can't remember the term, but there's a relationship between the front objective and the rear objective, and the higher the power, that relationship shrinks.
Okay.
So that's another thing.
I got you. Now you mentioned, now we've got about a few more minutes, about 5 more minutes before Stone comes on. But you talked about reticle. Are you a fan of the mil-dot reticle? What should we be looking at, and what separates the reticles? You know, why?
Well,
why
yeah. As a matter of fact, I do have several scopes that have mil-dot reticles. If excuse me, if once you understand how it works, it's real simple how it works. And granted, there are a lot of scopes out there that have all these, you know, circles and lines and everything in the reticle. And to me, I am a big fan of the KISS rule. Mm-hmm. And consequently, I don't go in for all of these fancy reticles, because in reality, I look at the reticle as nothing more than an optically aided front sight.
Yeah.
That's what I look at the scope reticle as.
Okay. Makes sense.
So, having said that, I like the mil-dot because it's simple, it's easy to use. If you feel you need a range-finding reticle, what's much better is to get out and shoot at different distances and learn through experience what 600 yards looks like, what 300 yards looks like, what 1,000 yards looks like. You know, that's a lot better.
Yeah.
Than having any kind of whiz-bang reticle.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things too that a lot of the guys, one of the things I learned by talking with military snipers and law enforcement snipers and stuff is that they have their little dope book or whatever they call it, where they shoot at all of every condition. It's not that they're obviously they can calculate it, but they basically try to shoot at every possible distance in every possible condition at with pressure settings and stuff, and then they have their little book that they rely back on and say, all right, when I shot 2 years ago and it was this pressure setting at this distance at this whatever angle and blah blah, and those guys do the calculations in their heads, but I think you're absolutely correct. It's all about just shooting the rifle, and then remembering what you did and writing it down and be proficient with that. I mean, it's it's a sport, and like any other sport, you have to, there's a lot of preparation, a lot of equipment, and there's a lot of practice that's involved, and that's just it.
Yes.
So Tim, I appreciate, I'm sorry, we did get a little off track there with the ARs. We always do on this show because that's what everybody seems to like these days and stuff, but we'll, let's make it a standard Monday. That way I can give you a little bit more time. I've got Stone's going to be joining us and everything. I will be reaching out to you tomorrow. I have a buddy here in town that just bought a Dillon 650, and of course I sent him to get your books and everything, and so I was going to reach out to you anyways and see if you're available and kind of.
I'm retired. My time is my own.
Exactly, and he's it was funny because he is a really good friend, and we got him into shooting. He was an archer. And we got him into actually shooting sports and stuff, and so he's actually picking up a custom AR this weekend, and of course he wants to do it. So I told him, I said, I got a guy, got a great book, and you got to get his books and stuff, and maybe we'll set up a little meet and greet and stuff. So Tim, I appreciate you calling in, but I know Stone's going to be calling here in the next minute, and everything. So is there anything you want to tell anybody? Tell people about your websites. How do they reach you? How do they get your book? Besides, they can get it from the Midnight Patriot website.
My website is 1776men.com. I have an online magazine there. You can also get to my homepage where my books are listed via 1776men.com. And or if a credit card works better for you, my books are listed on Amazon. You just have to do a search by author, and my books will come right up.
Yep. So, and of course, we have links there at the Midnight Patriot. We'll also put links out there at patriotfb.com as well, Tim, for you. So people, and then obviously we can actually process that order for you through the credit card through patriotfb.com. Considering we just happen to live in the same town, it's kind of unusual. I did not know that until after we started talking. So we'll take care of that for you. But Tim, thanks for taking time out of your evening, and I do apologize for kind of rushing it off and stuff, but Stone's coming on here. Oh, not a problem, my friend. Take care of yourself. And I will be in touch with you probably tomorrow, if not tomorrow, on Thursday. All right, sir?
You still got my phone number?
I do, yes, sir. I will. I will give you a call. Thank you. Thanks for calling in.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Yep.
Have a good evening.
You too, my friend. So there you go. Sorry about that. We a little change there. That's normally on Monday. I wanted to give Tim a little bit more time than what we normally do. And everything, but Mondays are going to be Munitions Mondays. We're going to talk about all things guns. There was a little confusion there on the timing, and that's my fault. That's I've had my head shoved so much into the patriotfb.com, and so we kind of got our wires crossed. But right now, our scheduled guest is Mr. Stone Anthony. Stone, is that you?
It is, my friend. How are you?
It is. See, I roll right into from one conversation to the other. I'm a machine.
You want to go to the bathroom or something?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I do. And it was, and I feel bad because Tim's got just as you can hear. I don't know if you heard. I mean, the guy's got a tremendous amount of experience, and I want to give him more time. That's why we dedicated Mondays, but I screwed up on the scheduling but the topic is, we wanted to talk about scopes because I've got a couple of listeners have been hitting me up as far as what should I buy? What should I get? What does MOA mean? And everything. So didn't want to impede on your time though. And stuff. So how are you doing? I haven't talked to you. It's been a week, and you've been on that other site, my friend, Trader.
You mean Facebook or
yeah, I've seen you on Facebook. I have not seen you on. I have not seen you on Patriot FB.
Doesn't it still do the simulcast?
It does. That's how I know you're on Facebook because I get your feeds. I'll get your feeds from the Facebook site over to our site. And actually, and this is good news for us. It actually got to the point where the people that are on Patriot FB said turn that off. We have our own feeds. We don't need Facebook feeds anymore. So they're actually generating their own. We're generating our own feeds and everything. So they asked me today. They said, can you just turn that off because it's annoying. So
I haven't been doing much myself on Facebook either. I've got some admins and stuff that are doing stuff, but I've had a pretty full week myself.
I know you've been pretty busy.
Yeah. So what's happening in the world? I missed your show last night too. I was out of the office.
Yeah, I know you've been on the road. I know you've been really busy with getting things together for your campaign and stuff. And the little birdies have told me. We're just trying to stay up top of the news now. At Patriot FB, we did bring in some other podcasters. So we actually have, if you go to patriotfb.com, which is really cool and stuff, we have, of course, Cowboy Logic Radio. Don and Donna, are on Tuesday nights, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. In the morning, in the AM, we have American Voices Now, and then does the 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. And then we have.
They live? Or
they're live. This is all live. And then we have J.J. McCarty. He does his show from 2 to 4 now, live. And of course, you got me, and then we've got other shows. We've got Mac Worley. Hopefully, he'll be joining us here on Sunday. He does a Sunday show, but we're just filling it up with shows. And then I've been approached by a couple other shows to do some other shows. And so it looks like probably by the first or second of the year, we should probably have about 10 hours of news talk and political and patriot conversations. And then I had to bite the bullet today. I went out to ASCAP and BMI. So we're actually going to, be able to play music as well. So we'll have, good music, what I consider good music. We'll have a little bit of rock and roll with some country and Western for all my brethren down there in the South. And so that's about it, just trying to, like everybody else in America, trying to keep our head above water here.
Any more communists died, socialists died that our nation's leaders want to spend our hard-earned treasure.
That's right. And what was really crazy when all that was going on, they had that idiot up there that was, at Medella, at the funeral or whatever, standing up there, and then they had the other idiot that was up there that was apparently not signing correctly. So we watch. No, it's, and tomorrow we're actually going to have, all right, I'm going to tell everybody. I'm going to tell you, Stone, put on your tin hat and everything, your tinfoil hat and stuff. No, we've uncovered something that's pretty scary. If it's even halfway true, it's really scary, and we're going to be talking about that tomorrow, so I don't want to, let all the listeners out there, but Joe's going to be joining us again. Joe Sullivan is going to be joining us from patriotfb.com, and he's uncovered some pretty scary stuff. I know where he's going with it. I kind of put it up there for him, and he's kind of our pit bull librarian info source here. He, the guy just digests this stuff, and it's amazing the stuff that he digs up and he produces. And so he's going to be joining us tomorrow and we're going to be talking about that. But if, like I said, if it's even half of it is accurate or truthful, be very concerned, all of us. But that's for tomorrow.
About Hillary being a lesbian.
No, well, we already knew that, so that's no big deal. That's no.
I can't think of it.
No. This is global in scope. This is global in scope, and so like I said, I'm not gonna. I know what we're gonna talk about, but I'll let Joe. It's his research. Okay. So let him throw it out there. But no, well, obviously, I don't know if you caught the first hour or the first few minutes of the show. We talked about. I was shocked yesterday because normally I'm on top of the news. I found out yesterday that that kid at apparel at the school in Colorado was actually stopped by an armed guard. Of course, you didn't hear that in mainstream media. Have you heard that? Have you heard it where you're at? Yeah.
No.
Yeah, he was stopped by. Of course, mainstream media is not reporting on it, but he was actually stopped by an armed guard in the school as he was going through a school. There was an armed guard that was rushing, and apparently the young man, saw the guard coming towards him, and that's when he took his life. And that's when the shooting stopped, obviously. And of course, you're not going to hear about that in mainstream media, that the fact that maybe an armed guard in schools might be a good idea.
I've actually made a concerted effort to get my news from, other alternative sources than the what you call the mainstream media, because I intend to run this campaign. Not, obviously, I'm not going to get their support. I'm not going to get their endorsement. So I'm not going to get my information from them. And everybody, I think has pretty much come to the conclusion that the news that you do get from them is either half the truth or half the lie.
Yeah.
Or, it's not complete in its, presentation. And I'll tell you one thing that bothers me, and I got to be honest with you, I was just like everybody else. I watched the news because I felt like that's how I found out what was going on in the world. But one of the things that always troubled me was he'll go from story to story to story, and peppered through there, might be a story of, three of our soldiers got killed in Afghanistan, and then, it's a very somber moment, and then immediately they go into, the cheerleaders at the high school, won a red, white, and blue ribbon or something like that, and now they're all happy again. In other words, so that sort of thing bothers me.
Oh,
they're able to just turn it on, turn it off real quick.
Yeah, we have actually what's really cool with and I'm not an expert at it, but I'm sure Donna and we are bringing on some professional talent, news talent. Go out there and look up their bios and everything at Cowboy Logic US.
Well, just because they're professional doesn't mean that they can turn their emotions on.
No, I'm not saying that. But I think she can probably shed light into the fact that, look, and the books and everything that I've read and everything on media, preparing for my show, when I decided I was going to do this, of course, I went out and started to read, and,
that's not my point. My point is that I want to get my news from people that are going to pretty much tell me everything that they know. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was kind of my point.
I got you. But I'm just saying is that the mainstream media, there is a psychology piece to it, and they teach that up and down that they teach that you see in the news and stuff. They teach that, and that's the way that they, that's a standard thing because they want to hit your emotions and they want to hit all that, and that's how they get you to.
That's how they manipulate people.
That's how they manipulate. Exactly. That's what I was trying to get to. Is that's how they and they're psychologists and psychiatrists and anthropologists that write these, these how-tos for these media. You would think, you got to go to college to learn how to tell the news. Well, obviously you got to polish, but a lot of your college training or your secondary training is like psychology and anthropology and how to, mass market and all of that stuff. So that, that's why they call it mass communications. No, I haven't really.
So anyway, so I watch, I listen to your show and I listen to, the other shows that I'm on, and, I watch an incredible amount of, internet, alternative media sites and things like that. And that's, if I have a need to know something, I don't turn on Fox News any longer.
Yeah.
And, anyway, so, some exciting news on my front. I mean, I've got, we finally picked a date to announce my official candidacy for president, which is going to be January 10th in Portsmouth, Virginia.
Okay.
At Bayside Harley-Davidson at 3 p.m. So you'll want to definitely tune in for that.
Yeah,
we're going to be streaming it live.
Are you? Are you going to use like a Ustream or a? I mean, is it going to be a video stream or is it just going to be an internet radio like us stream?
Well, the beauty of it is that's above my pay grade, meaning I have no idea how they're going to do it.
you just got to show up. Now I
just got to show up.
Now, Stone, I got to ask you: are you going to be wearing a suit, or are you going to be wearing? Are you going to be wearing your leather, your blue jeans and leather?
I think I've been asked that question a bunch of times. I've had advice on both sides of the fence, but I'm who I am, and I'm just going to surprise everyone. So
whatever.
Got to keep some things, but what I've discovered in this campaign, and it's going on almost 4 months now, and I'm very optimistic. I think things are going fantastic. This nation is completely divided. I mean, they are all over the place. And, I think the one thing that I can do that will do my fellow citizens some justice is to just be the rock, be the thing that is the same, going down the, around the curves, first, second, third, fourth curve, right into the home stretch. I've got to be that, you sort of kind of know what to expect from me, and I think that's going to be important for people to, when they, geez, there goes those two words again, that hope thing, nothing worse than talking to somebody that's going to give you, one story 1 minute and another story the next.
Yeah.
And so no matter what happens at the end of this thing, which is, we're certainly going to be victorious, but I want to be able to say at the other end of this thing that that I did it with integrity and honesty, and that's that. And which brings me to another point is that this thing does not end, on November 8th. Our country is, of course, we'll be in the people's house at that point, but even during beyond that type of thing, the citizens of this country can never lay down again. They have always got to be vigilant. They've always got to be paying attention to what's going on to their freedoms and liberties. So, that's part of leading the nation. It's part of getting that morality raised in the nation. That what's important. Sovereignty is something that you take for granted because it's not something you can touch or smell. Okay, but it's something that exists, and when you don't have it, you certainly will know what that feels like, and it doesn't feel good. And anybody that's paying attention right now should be starting to feel that it doesn't feel good.
Yeah. Well, and even the millennials are kicking back. And and you raised a really good point. And I want to stress this is that just putting you into the White House and in the people's house, as you so eloquently said, putting you in the people's house, we can't stop there. We now have to surround you. I mean, there's a huge effort that we still got to continue because we got to surround you with people that are going to work with you or are going to want to work with you and your beliefs and stuff, because you're just one facet of this government. Now I will tell you, with you being in the White House, it will tremendously clean it up. I mean, without a doubt, the first day you step in there, I'm sure. I want to be there as the moving trucks, as you're packing up the. I can already see how it's going to go down. You're going to forget about the inaugural parade. You're going to be sitting there throwing the crap in the back of the moving truck. You know what I'm saying?
I'm going to be sworn in, at 12:01, just like my predecessors, and I'm going to march right down, down Pennsylvania Avenue and right into my office, and we're going to work.
Yeah.
Which is a question I get all the time, which is, Stone, how, don't forget us, don't forget us once once we achieve what we're trying to achieve here. And I said, absolutely not. There's no way that could possibly happen because you're right. We need people to continue what they're doing. They need to keep me honest, and, but right now there's no access. There's no You know, there's no way that a citizen's voice right now is even being listened to.
No,
they're just laughing at us.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean,
they've got their henchmen in the media.
Yeah, I mean, they went out today. I mean, they're taking a $4 million. You know, as America, as we have over almost 25% unemployment, true unemployment in the United States right now, as you and I and any parent out there, you know, anybody that's got kids, I mean, just any individual are struggling to try to put things, you know, to provide and give their kids or their families a good holiday season and everything. You know, this administration, because of their economic policies, that's why we're all in the pinch right now. But this administrator, or this president and his wife, they're taking a $4 million vacation to Hawaii now. You know,
right.
I mean, it's just
a vacation for me is going to be walking down the street to Penn's Tavern, which is on Indiana Avenue, if anybody knows DC. Big shout out to Mike down there. Good guy. Big Caps fan.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know, and having a beer and having a hamburger. You know what I'm saying? So it's not look, things are drastically going to change because drastic change is needed. Yeah. And I think that whoever is leading this nation, while he or she has to maintain a certain amount of, whatever you want to call it. And
well, you have a certain level of decorum.
People have to be involved.
Yeah.
People have to be involved. You know, so where that leads me after I leave Portsmouth, Virginia, on that's a Friday afternoon, I'll be heading over to Maryland. I've got 2 events over there. One in Havre de Grace, Maryland, which, you know, if you look in your history books, Havre de Grace was going to be was on the short list for where Washington, D.C. is currently built. So Havre de Grace could have been the capital of the United States had it gone that way, but it didn't, obviously. That'll be in the morning. And then this is on January 11th, Saturday. Then we're heading down to Baltimore, Harley-Davidson, from noon 30 to 2 o'clock to kind of do another, stump speech, candidacy announcement for the folks over in Maryland. And then at 4 o'clock, something personal that I'm wanting to do, and I'm going to do this every year until the day that I die, which is I'm going to go stand on the Lincoln Steps in D.C. there at the memorial, and I'm going to read the entire Declaration of Independence, the United States Constitution, and the Bill of Rights, just out loud, by myself if I'm the only one there, which I won't be, I'm pretty sure. So that's something that people can come and enjoy if they'd like. The public's invited. Of course, all my supporters and patriots that are in the area are planning on being there. So it's going to be a nice day to kind of end that weekend of announcements. And then from there, my schedule is quickly filling up with different events that I've been invited to and that type of thing. So. Yeah. But we've got a couple of events that I'm, not sponsoring, but I'm pushing very hard because they're near and dear to me. And Jeff, I'd ask you to do this also. Is on my website. There's a link at the top that says "End Veteran Suicide,"
yep.
And I've written a letter that I'm asking people to open, print, sign, and then deliver to their local congressman or senator's office, no matter where they're at. Just hand deliver it, drop it off, give it to the secretary. If he or she is there, the congressman or senator, hand it to them and say, listen, it's criminal what you're doing. Our veterans are dying at a rate of 22 a day.
Yeah.
They're committing suicide, and that's something that has to end. And if you've been watching the news here the last day or so, they've been talking about cutting veterans benefits and cutting, retirees pay and stuff like that, which is just so off the wall, out of control. And this is why we're doing what we're doing, because the things that they are doing just makes zero sense. So, if you could keep pushing that on your radio show between now and the 22nd, and it's not going to end on the 22nd, but I just picked January 22nd because of the date 22 and 22 veteran suicides daily. So, but anyway, you still there?
I'm here. I am actually at patriotfb.com. I am actually I've got your link, and I am posting it right now.
Oh, great.
Yep,
There's an explanation in there of what we want people to do. Great. I appreciate that. Reason I asked if you were still there because you're usually talking.
I'm usually going,
But you keep doing that, and I'll just keep talking.
Yeah, no, keep talking. I just posted it up there on patriotfb.com, and
great.
So the listeners can get behind it.
I've probably gotten 15 calls just today from people saying, well, where do I deliver it to? Well, send it to your local VA hospital, or deliver it, or to your congressman's office. But anyway, the letter itself is a scathing letter to them, talking about, why they need to reverse their policies on what they're doing. It's criminal, and there's just no way around it. So
it's
everybody knows that I'm a disabled vet myself at a 70% rate, and I've got my issues that I deal with on a daily basis, and I'd almost rather have a tooth extracted than go to the VA for any type of medical care, because it's kind of a crapshoot. It's like Vegas. You just never.
Yeah, I mean, you truly never know what you're going to get. So, and I agree with you, Stone, is that the quality of care of our VA, of our veterans and stuff is going in this administration. And actually, the GOP, it's just not this administration. I would say this government has completely turned its back on veterans' rights and veterans' health and everything. So, I mean, it's just, even John McCain, I'm disappointed that, John McCain. Nah, I got you. Well, no, it's you. You're the only one that drops. It's you know what it is
I'm the only one that I know is running for president.
You're the only one that's running for president on the show. So yeah, the NSA is tapping in. So, but no, and that's the thing is, I was thinking about this today because my father's a veteran, and we had this conversation, and I didn't want to call him up and say I told you so, because they were here not too long ago, and I said, look, it's only a matter of time before this government starts cutting your benefits, and before the government starts, they're going to push you from TRICARE over to Obamacare. It's only a matter of time. And they're like, oh, that will never happen. Well, guess what? And so then I called him up, and he goes, well, I guess you called to see, the gloat. And I'm like, I didn't call a gloat. I'm seeing what you guys are doing for the holidays. But since you brought it up, and it's sad, and it's horrible. And I'm outraged the fact that you got John McCain. Where's John McCain in all of this? Where are the veterans, that sit in our Congress?
What, I think John McCain died a long time ago. I think his body's still walking around, but it's jumbled up. I don't even think he's still alive anymore.
I mean, we got members of Congress who are veterans. Where are they? And then today we were kind of hoping that the Senate.
Well, let's answer the question. They've been bought. They've been bought by the big corporations. So that's where they're at. They don't care about what veterans are faced with right now. They certainly don't care about the ones that are killing themselves at a rate of 22 a day. I mean, when you say that number out loud, in a week's time. Yeah. Think about that.
I know. It's a travesty. We got one, and that's why we do what we do. I'm waiting for the names to appear. They haven't been released, but we lost 6 soldiers today in Afghanistan.
Well, you just announced the soldiers that are killed in combat, correct?
In combat, that's it. I don't. And now, this is actually a good. Thank you for bringing this up. I was meaning to bring this up. If you have a family member who has served. If you have a family member, yes, we get the list from the DOD, but if you have a family member that's passed, and I don't care what war they were in, if you have their name and you want them to be part of all you have to do is just text me or email me with the name, and we'll make sure that we get them into the list as well. We need to honor all of them.
The DOD is not going to produce a list of our nation's heroes,
exactly.
Veterans that are killing themselves every day.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So if you know of someone, produce that to us, get that to us, and we'll make sure that we honor. Because the way I look at it is that they were killed in combat as well. These young men and women are taking their lives. It's because of the effects of combat, and it's also not only the effects of combat, but our inability as a nation to take care of those young men and women, and they come back. We are so, and this infuriates me. You might see me. I'm going to try to stay calm here. This infuriates me when you have soldiers who are dying, who are committing suicide. You don't hear about it on the news, number one. And then number two, you'll hear about a baseball player who came, that had a privileged life, who they think might have had a head trauma, and they're going to exhume, and then you hear for 30 minutes all over mainstream media about how, this poor baseball, and it's like, excuse me, America, excuse me, I don't care about some baseball player who had a privileged life who decided because he didn't convey, that might be tragic to the family, but that's not tragic to a nation. And when we lose a soldier, that's a travesty against this nation as a whole. And so I get so angry with mainstream media when the news, when they talk about a baseball player or they talk about a football player that, he had concussion syndrome, and who gives a I'm just going to say it, I'm going to dump myself, but who gives a shit? I don't care. I can care less when I got 22.
Well, I want you to get angry. I want you to get angry, and I want those that are paying attention to get angry, because we're coming up on a season right now where I don't care what. And I'll say it also, I don't give a shit what people's lot in life is. You can stop for a moment and pray for a soldier. You can stop for a moment and think about that there's somebody sitting in a dark room right now that's contemplating ending their life because they can't deal with whatever's happening to them and they don't understand what's happening to them. So I get angry also when I hear people say, well, there's nothing I can do. There's, it's just out of my hands. It's better out of sight, out of mind, and this type of thing. But, when we come together as a nation, we're not just coming together as a nation to bring manufacturing and jobs back and, to reinstate our Constitution. We need to start taking care of each other because that is one of the reasons we are in this shithole that we're in right now, is because we stopped caring about one another. Yeah. And if we can raise the morality in this country and start caring about our fellow citizens once again, then, my friend, we are truly on the path to reinvigorating this nation that is so...
Well, we're lost. We are. Yeah. As a nation, we are lost. We are so jacked up on whatever they've been feeding us and, whatever they've been piping in our brains.
I really need people to stop. Yeah. I can't say that I need them to stop. I need them to reconsider. Let me put it that way, because I'm not telling anybody what to do or think. But Barack Hussein Obama is the president of the United States. Mm-hmm. I don't know anybody, and certainly none of my friends, like that. But he's there, and he's not going anywhere. And if you spend your time thinking about President Obama and how to get him out of office and how to impeach him and all this other crap, what's going to happen is that's going to go right down to Election Day. And while everybody's complaining about Obama, because Hillary's going to appreciate that everybody's paying attention to him instead of her, in a sense of she's going to blame everything on him. Of course she is.
Yes. And it's already happening. It's already started.
Well, absolutely. So if patriots allow themselves to get caught up in that daily, that minutia of whatever, and what this crap that the Congress is doing right now, when they're having impeachment hearings and they're discussing the possibility that he's broken the law and this type of thing. Okay, does anybody know that there's a thing called the midterm elections coming up?
Yeah.
And that's what these guys need to be able to run on. So they need an issue to be able to run on. But it's all smoke and mirrors, folks. Okay.
Well,
it's not going to happen.
I agree. I think it's one big distraction, and you're absolutely right. And it's a way of saying that I think the impeachment hearings, to be honest with you, my gut feeling is it's their sacrifice to the American people. Oh, look, we did something. Now go back and being slaves. We did what, and of course, we all know the impeachment process anyways, even though they get a conviction, doesn't mean that, you got to go through the Senate and that's got to happen. It's not going to happen that way. And I agree with you. There are so many other things that this administration, we know the guy's a criminal. We know the guy's a crook. The problem is that he's unprosecutable just because of the nature of the way that the government is structured and they've aligned it that way. It's kind of like going after, trying to, blood out of a turnip. You can't get it. From a political standpoint, the guy's untouchable and we can jump. And I agree with you. Our focus needs this, our focus needs to be looking at the midterm, and that's why I wanted to say that not only do we have to put you in office, but we also have to start putting people in office that are going to work with you and work with your administration, and that starts now. That starts in this midterm right now.
A gentleman asked me today how am I going to handle Congress and this type of thing, and I'm gonna have these banners made up and maybe hang them off of the Washington Monument, and it's a 7-letter word that people maybe they don't understand what the word means, but they can look it up, etc. And it's a word called treason.
Yeah.
Okay, and that is something when I get to Washington that I'm going to have to bring to the forefront. What Congress is doing right now, what the president is doing right now, what our judicial branch is doing right now. If this were in George Washington's times, I'm not even sure they'd have trials anymore. They'd just be going around shooting people because it's not they're not even hiding it anymore. Okay, these congressmen and these senators are so corrupt. I mean, follow the money. Look at their lives and how they've enriched themselves off of the spoils of the American people. It is sickening. It is dangerous. It's and not to mention that I have one of the world's mightiest militaries at my disposal from a standpoint of the U.S. Marines. Congress is not going to act like they are right now. Okay, absolutely, it's 100%. They're their own, they're their own body of government, but they do have to follow the laws of the land.
Yeah.
And not only the laws of the land, but also the human laws that that may or may not be written. But no longer can they come to Washington and just enrich themselves and allow people to purchase them and lobby for this, that, and the other. I mean, we've got 198 or 168 nuclear plants in this country. And do you know that the Nuclear Regulatory Commission isn't even an authoritative body? They have no law enforcement capabilities. They don't even have an arm that they can reach out to partner with to enforce the regulations for the nuclear community.
Well, I think aren't they under
and
the?
So
hold on,
so basically the industry is policing itself.
Well, aren't they?
You know how that works out.
I know, but aren't they under the guise of the Department of Energy?
Yes, and the Department of Energy doesn't have a law enforcement arm.
Yeah. Well, But
the bottom line there is that the energy industry basically self-polices itself.
Yeah.
Okay? They do their own investigations when there's accidents and this type of thing. I mean, when something... I mean, I guess my point in bringing that up is look at what's happening in Japan right now at Fukushima nuclear power plant. That is going to affect the United States. Okay? It is affecting the United States.
No.
So,
we're already seeing... We posted, and that's why you got to get out the PatriotFB.com a little bit more, because over the weekend I posted a guy. You can go to our video section. I posted a guy who took 3 Geiger counters during the snow in St. Louis. He took 3 Geiger counters, put them in his backyard, and they're all reading something like 80 of radiation. It is affecting it, and that's in St. Louis. It's in the snow. It's in the. We've reported on this show many a times where polar bears, the Greenpeace, they put out the deplorable thing about Santa Claus melting they won't talk about the 28% of the polar bears now who have some kind of, they're either losing their fur or they have lesions. They're not talking about they said 100% of the tuna tested that comes out of the Pacific, out of that, area, they all read levels of radiation. They're destroying the ocean, and you don't hear anything about it.
No. It is. Well, they are destroying. It's already destroyed. In other words, we need a program in place. We need to know how to deal with this. But I'm not hearing our government talking to the citizens and saying, "Hey, here's what we need to do to be safe," and this type of thing. Yeah. They're ignoring it. You know why they're ignoring it? Because we're worrying about health care right now, which is an important issue, but it is consuming the nation's conscience right now.
Yeah, I personally think that they're not they're not addressing it because it pushes the people once again when it gets to the point to where it is noticeable. It is noticeable, but it's really noticeable. I think the government's going to use this in part or parcel as part of their, I know, Stone, you're rolling your eyes. You say, Jeff, get out from underneath the tinfoil. But I actually believe that the government is using or will use that event in Fukushima and everything as part of their plan on taking a little bit more control over the American people. And look, there are people in the New World Order who call for depopulation of the world. They clearly have called for that. We are finding out that there are soldiers who were over there that were on the ships who already are dying of tumors and cancers on the Reagan, the USS Reagan. It's only a matter of time before all of us come up with some kind of cancer and stuff, and it's a fairly quick death.
Right. Depending on, I don't know enough about any of that to speak intelligently. Yeah. All I do know is that the emergency, even though this happened 2 years ago, apparently the emergency is still just as alive today as it was 2 years ago. In other words, they don't know how to deal with it. So, this is once again, Americans need to prepare for this kind of thing because, government has no, obviously no interest in helping, so you have to take care of yourself.
But
we need to do some research and figure it out.
Apparently
it's going to affect the entire northern hemisphere of the planet.
See, my solution is fire up HARP and start blowing that crap towards China. And I promise you, once their guy, once they start getting it, something will be done. It might not be pretty, but something.
I mentioned that in passing just because it's just one more thing that you're not, they talk about it on the news as if it's a movie and, it's a bad movie and then the ratings are low. And so let's go on to the next story. Let's hear what Oprah's got to say, now, about something silly. So,
but
we have to.
It's just, I don't know. I think there's part of a bigger plan.
Right. No, I don't wear tin foil, but I get you, and I understand that, there are absolutely things going on behind the scenes that, we are just not privy to. And, one of the things that, as I go over the next 2.5 years, I'm going to be certainly, asked about those types of things, and I have no answer. Nobody has an answer to that. Yeah. I mean, how do you fix something like that? You have to bring in the best and the brightest, and I don't know who they are, but I know they exist, or maybe they don't, But when we create something like that in the future, to build a nuclear power plant right on the ocean where you get tsunamis just didn't seem like a good, they didn't do their due diligence,
Well, you're in an earthquake zone. I mean, forget about this. You're in an earthquake zone. And now they're finding out that the way the reactors were built were, old reactors. And, we have a reactor right here in Wisconsin that was built by the same company that did 3 Mile Island, the 3 Mile Island reactor. And when 3 Mile Island happened, they immediately shut this one down, just not because of any event. They just said it was built by the same people. And if they screwed up 3 Mile Island, they probably screwed this one up too.
You want to err on the side of caution. I mean, I get that. So what is Obama is, out there pushing that he'd like to see more nuclear, what he calls clean energy.
Clean energy alternative, yeah.
Right. He'd like to see some of those built. So, I mean, there's a reason we haven't built any for 30, 35 years.
Yeah. And, when you can't get, you talk about self-regulation and stuff. When an insurance company won't insure you, and they have to pass law, and a lot of people in America don't realize this. Those nuclear power plants, GE and the guys that own those plants or that built those plants, they actually had laws written that protect them. If there's an accident at those plants, they cannot be sued. And they said that's the only way that we're going to build them. There is no insurance policy that we can take out that would cover the destruction that these things would do. So government, and this is once again the government not looking out for the people. Government, you have to pass a law. We'll build them, but if they blow up, if they malfunction, people die, we can't be sued. And
right.
so
well, the cost to build them, I think they said, is somewhere around $8 billion. So the government is going to back up those loans. So that's, once again, folks, that's just that's another example of things happening that may or may not be in our best interest. They're killing coal miners in West Virginia, meaning killing the coal mining industry in exchange to justify building these new nuclear power plants. Now, that just doesn't seem like a wise choice to me. So, these are the kinds of things that we're going to have to study and make sure that they are, in the interest of the American citizens. And that's again, one of the other answers that I try to give quite a bit, because people need to understand something, that, anybody that's running for this particular office, if they're running for it, that means they're not in it. In other words, they can't possibly know all the nuances of what's going on and all the backroom deals and everything like that. So we can just do our best guess as to what's going on. But I can tell you right now that the American citizen is not part of any equation that I've, been able to extrapolate from all the madness, okay? Because if the American citizen were part of the equation, I don't think that many of the things that are happening around us or to us or for us or whatever, is taking, our sovereignty and our individual rights as part of the equation. So, when they ask me how am I going to deal with Congress, I have the power of veto, and my message to them is clear. Write me a bill, write me a law that includes the American citizens, as part of the equation, making sure that their rights are not violated and making sure that it's going to put money in their pockets as opposed to Egypt's pockets or China's pockets.
Yep.
So,
talking about that, we actually posted up, we talk about the coal miners, you brought it up, and I just want to reference everybody over at Patriot FB. We posted up a article that was on Joe for America's website, i.e. Joe the Plumber, that Rodney Conover wrote about the EPA and their militaristic approach and how it's killing job growth in the United States, and it's keeping people from finding high-paying, high-technology, high construction, manufacturing jobs. The EPA is their policies have significantly pushed back hiring and production in this country. And you look at,
listen, there's no doubt about it. The EPA is not a friend of the American citizen. They're not. I'm not even sure what their purpose is. But I will say this publicly, Jeff. I don't want my environment screwed up.
Yeah.
Okay, so to have an agency that's sole mission is to protect the environment, I mean, I don't see where anybody would have a problem with that. Okay, the problem that I see is that whatever power they contain, as far as the EPA is concerned, their utilization of that power does not seem to make any sense in many cases. Okay, and therefore, we need to take a look at that and see, the effectiveness of the EPA. If it's simply to kill an industry like coal, so that they can replace it with nuclear, which, by the way, if I was General Electric and I could build a plant that they say costs $8 billion, but it'll probably end up costing $14 or $15 billion.
Yeah.
They can pocket $6 billion of that and get the government to guarantee all the loans.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a win-win for them.
Yeah. Well, no, from a GE standpoint, but you know what? Like I said, if you want to put a stop to these nuclear things, the first things we can do is to say, look, you have no amnesty.
I'm not saying that listen, I'm not saying that I'm against it. That's not the point here. What I'm saying is, if it's not good for the American people, then I don't think that it needs to be something that we need to consider. I mean, if it's great for GE and it's going to make their bottom line, prosper. And by the way, that information is public. We can see it. So, let's just not allow ourselves to be fooled any longer.
Yeah.
Okay, these deals that are done are not to help you and I. Their deals are done to help them. Now, prior to 3 Mile Island, you mentioned that, those communities were living in the dark. Holbrook over in Long Island, laboratories, Oak Ridge down in Tennessee, these type of, where they, have nuclear power plants or they work with nuclear, stuff. Those communities around there thrive. But as soon as the poop hits the fan, they basically, they kill the entire economy around it. And then GE comes in and buys everything up, and then, nobody's the wiser. Everything's fine. But in reality, we know that it's not fine. Okay? So, we just have to be smarter about things. The American people can make up their own mind if they had the correct information, is what I'm trying to say. And I don't even know what the correct information is, and I don't even know what all the subjects are going to be. But I do know that the American people will know what's going on and will have a voice in it. And let Hillary Clinton or Ted Cruz tell you that.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to tell you that, but they're not going to mean it. But I digress.
No, you're absolutely correct.
A question for you. Why hasn't Joe the plumber got on there and signed my petition?
I don't know.
Just curious.
I'll
I got to give him a call.
Yeah, I'll ask him.
all this, talk.
Oh, there you go. You upset the powers that be. You went after Joe and they disconnected you. So no, I'll actually reach out to Joe. Ask him. I'll ask him. I know he's really busy with the season and everything, and there's a lot of things going on that, everybody is. Everybody is. So, getting back to the conversation that we're talking about Fukushima and stuff, and I wanted just to.
I'm starting to figure out that there's certain names and words that the NSA doesn't like.
Yeah, exactly. They disconnect
Pretty soon when I say Jeff Norton, or I may have to start calling you Jim again.
Jim, yeah, start calling me Jim to throw them off. They'll be like, "Who's you?" It's really funny how I was listening to a talk show today, and in the background, and they were talking about there is a point, and they start seeing that. They actually started to see it when they reach a certain level. They start seeing the harassment increase, and that could be, they get letters from the IRS, they'll get letters, and I haven't reached that point yet, but, that'll be a good thing. That'll be a good thing.
Here's something I want you to look out for, and I'll give you the name of it real quick. Let me look it up.
Okay.
Your Patriot FB will eventually end up on this. It's called, what's it called? It's called BullGuard. And if everybody goes to, www.bullguard.com, I guess is what it's called, and it's how they, like in schools and libraries, anyway, it's an internet website blocking software.
Gotcha. I see it.
Yeah. Well,
and
2016 ended up on that. So.
And they'll actually start blocking you, and yeah, it's.
Right. People can bypass it by saying, I don't believe this, and just continue on to the website. But, for my website to end up on, a whatever this thing's called,
good for you,
or whatever this thing does, it says that I'll just read it. It says this site is listed as a malicious site that may be stealing identity information, plant viruses on your machine, or do other harmful things.
Yeah.
Now, Stone Anthony 2016 is nothing but information.
Yeah.
It is, it certainly is going against the grain of the New World Order, or the folks that are trying to keep everybody under their control, or under their information dissemination, if you will. So, to me, this is libelous,
Yeah.
But,
there's
nothing I can do about it.
They had Drudge Report. Google actually, every once in a while you'll get that warning from Google, this site has malicious. Drudge Report got nailed with Google. Actually came back and said the same thing, basically the same thing about them, and
right.
and it was clearly, and that's.
I'm actually honored. I
Yeah.
don't want to, it's a hassle for maybe the few people or whatever that get caught up in that from the standpoint of if they click on my website and they get this announcement. But it's almost a badge of honor, if you will. That means that what I'm saying and the information I'm putting out is hitting a nerve somewhere.
Sure.
And so, I feel very good about that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I agree with it's funny because everybody that we had to start a poll on the website. We'll get in trouble for gambling or whatever, but everybody I've already heard people say you're going to get sued so bad from Facebook for having Patriot FB, and it's like I know it's coming, but hey, that'd be great. The way I look at it, that's going to be great advertising for me, because the thing is, a lot of people don't realize Facebook is based on open source software. They can't lay claim to their technology because it was all based on open source technology. So I'm not using their logo. I'm not advertising myself as Facebook. I'm just an extension. It's patriotfb.com. And actually,
well, I don't think that one has nothing to do with the other in a sense of, they gave you the tools to be able to integrate it with the login and stuff like that. I mean, listen, I wouldn't worry about being sued by Facebook. The Tea Party Community.org has been up for probably 2 years now.
Yeah.
And they've not been sued, so I wouldn't worry about that.
Yeah. So
you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I got you. I got you. And that was one of the things when we originally were starting this and stuff, we were looking at teaparty.org, but their mission was a little bit different than ours. So we decided, we'll just do it ourselves.
Right.
And, and
so, again, and I'll remind people that, as far as what, the President of the United States sets the tone. The President of the United States is the figurehead, the leader. He can do the things that he, is empowered to do by the Constitution, but the real acts, the laws, the things that affect people's daily lives, the intrusion, the help, whatever it is, comes out of that body known as Congress, okay? And so, I want to have a good relationship with them. I just want them to make laws that make sense. And the way that I can do that is through the veto power, okay? And that's, thank God that particular tool is there, because that makes them make better laws,
Yeah.
Obamacare, I mean, we all know he didn't write that. We know Nancy Pelosi didn't write it. It was written by the industry, okay, because of the healthcare law, okay, and it was to fix loopholes that they were having to deal with, and you can see what ends up happening, because the American people weren't part of the equation. It was to help the insurance companies. It was to help the hospitals that are for profit and this type of thing. So, no wonder we're having so many troubles, not just with the website, but with just with the whole concept of a socialized medicine. It's just un-American.
Yeah.
And, it's not something that will last, once I'm into office.
Sure.
Because I will lobby very hard to have it thrown out and replaced with, I think replaced with what we had before, which was a free and open market system, and where competition will, level itself out. And the other thing, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm actually. I was actually going to tell you we're coming up on a break here, so.
Okay. We'll
so
go ahead and take the break.
Well, no, we can go ahead and talk. You got about a minute as the music gets louder.
Let me use up the minute. What I was going to say is that once we remove the bloatedness, the bureaucracies that are in place that are killing our free and open market system of healthcare, then I think that healthcare, doctors and hospitals and things like that will correct themselves over a period of time.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
In my short life, I've never been denied care at a hospital. I've never been denied care, and nobody can say that that hospitals are evil or things like that. I mean, there are caring people there.
So, hey, Stone, we got to take Stone. It's going to cut you off here, so we're going to take a break, and then when we get back. So you're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and podcast. When we get back from the break, we'll finish up the conversation with Stone. We'll also talk about some more news items and, just kind of wrap up the evening. Join us on the web at www.themidnightpatriot.com.
We need a hero, someone to save us from ourselves. and our own self-destruction. God only knows we need Him. Looking for a hero, someone who cares about the future, not about themselves, but about the idea of America. We need a hero, someone who shows the way. We need a hero who speaks for the people and what we have to say. We still believe this land of the free is still America. We still believe in the land of the free, and we need a miracle. You know this freedom is anything but free. What we have here depends on those who will fight for what they believe. When we stand together, there's nothing that we can't achieve. This nation of people standing as one in the name of liberty. We need a hero, someone to show us the way. We need a hero who speaks for the people and what we have to say. We still believe this land of the free is still America. We still believe in the land of the free, and we need a miracle. We need a miracle. We need a miracle. We need a hero, someone to show us the way. We need a hero who speaks for the people and what we have to say. We need a hero today. We need a hero,
After Daniel Pearl was kidnapped and murdered in Pakistan, his family and friends came together to work towards a more humane world.
A foundation was formed in Daniel's name to promote cross-cultural understanding through journalism, music, and innovative communications.
On Daniel Pearl Music Day, thousands of people around the world will unite to promote harmony for humanity.
Carrying on his mission of connecting people through words and music.
Join us in using the universal language of music to diminish hatred.
Respect differences
and reach out in friendship.
We invite you to perform, support, or attend a Daniel Pearl Music Day event in October.
Participate in Daniel Pearl Music Day, promoting
America. Welcome home the brave. The brave men and women who serve their country are coming home. Home to their cities and towns. Home to their mountains and valleys. Home to their families and friends. Home to America. Some of these warriors are coming home with wounds you can see, and some with wounds you can't see, like post-traumatic stress disorder. Wounded Warrior Project was created to provide the support these wounded veterans need to ensure their return to America is well-adjusted and successful. But we need your help to ensure that our mission is a success. Help us honor and empower these wounded warriors. Contact us at findwwp.org. America, welcome home the brave.
Out of control spending. A government that no longer works for the people. Had enough? Then vote for Stone Anthony for president. Replace politicians with a citizen statesman. www.stoneanthony2016.com. You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join me on the web 24/7 at www.themidnightpatriot.com and also on our sister site, patriotfb.com. That's patriotfb.com. Wow, what an evening. You know, obviously we got Stone on the line, but I did want to take care of a little bit of housekeeping here before we bring Stone back in and stuff. I want to tell everybody that the tonight's show is also brought to you by Mountain View Off-Grid Living. That's mountainviewoffgridliving.com. Sue's actually on Patriot FB. You can go out there and talk to her there, but also go out to her website, mountainviewoffgridliving.com, and look at all of the specials. She's been a little busy for the holiday season getting things together. And yes, I did get my can of meat, and we're going to cook it up tomorrow, and I'll give you guys a full report on Wednesday's show. From Sue. She's got a special going on, and I'll give you an honest opinion what I think about it and stuff. It's been sitting there, and I can't wait to get in a barbecue and get going. But also the other thing too is I want to give a shout out to Madison Rising. All the music that we play here on the show is provided to us by Madison Rising. So go out to their website at madisonrising.com. Let them know that you heard the music here at the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast, and and buy it. It's a great gift. As you're getting your last minute gifts and everything. They have 2 albums out. Incredible music, incredible Patriot music. Now, we did get our BMI ASCAP license, all that information filled out today, so we will be playing as part of our 24/7 podcast, radio show, news show, and music. So we will be able to start playing music in its entirety here. So we'll be putting those playlists together. We'll have different genres. Obviously I'm a rock and roll kind of guy. I also like my country. I like it. I like also all kind of music, but I can guarantee you that all the music we're going to be playing here are patriotic in nature, and everything. So, but that's it. We got a lot of great things happening. Stone, I saw you. Did you get kicked off during the break, or did you go take a break?
Oh, I took a break.
Okay. I was like, oh no, you got.
You know what I was actually doing? I was on Patriot FB, reading the latest, posts and things like that. And
Yeah.
I'm watching this elderly woman be brutally attacked
Assaulted,
by these
yeah.
police officers, and I'd like to know more about that because that doesn't seem right.
Well,
I'm trying to imagine, anybody 70 years old. I mean, unless you're Jack LaLanne, at some point. Oh my God! They just slammed it. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
reason for that, so I can't even watch it anymore. But the young lady there, April Renegi or Reinge, she posted that, so I was watching that. But that's horrible.
Yeah, no, it is, and that's that's the police state that we live in. It's
Well, let me ask you something, Jeff.
crazy.
What are we going to do about it?
Well, we're gonna elect you, Stone, and then you're gonna go clean house.
Well, I'd hate to see over the next 2.5 years. So let's talk about that for a moment. I'd hate to see for the next 2.5 years someone else's mother or somebody else's grandmother get body slammed by 3 gorillas that's 70 years old onto the pavement. What can that group of citizens that are standing around there? What can they do legally? Maybe legally. How about morally? What's the moral thing to do?
Yeah.
I don't know, but we need to discuss that. We need to get some legal scholars on the phone and talk about that because, if you see somebody attacking somebody, unless if it's just another citizen, you have the right to step in.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, is that if they weren't wearing a badge and a uniform and stuff, people would be on top of them. And in some states, the concealed carry states, you have every right to defend that person just like you can defend yourself. And these police officers, look, I'm a firm believer. We need to stop putting up the cell phones. We need to put them down, and we need to start getting into this fight. I'm telling you, I have a good head on my shoulders. I can tell the difference between what is right and what is wrong. And if I see an older 70-year-old woman getting face planted like I saw, and you saw it, I heard you say, "Oh my God!" If I saw that, I don't care if they're wearing blue. I'm getting involved. And I might go to jail, but I have an obligation to protect those people that can't protect. There is no reason. And people, so you guys go, "Oh, Jeff is talking about violence against police." Go watch this video. Go watch this video. When you see it and you see what happened, this is 70 years. This is someone's grandmother. This is my mother. You face plant my mother. You couldn't. It would take 4 of you to pull me off of you. It just infuriates me. And the problem.
Well, I think we need to have a nationwide discussion amongst the patriots as to what we can do to protect our citizens from and listen, this isn't cop bashing, okay? I'm not, it's not what that's about. What it is if you are law enforcement and you watch this video, I would hope that you would be as mortified as I was. Now, having said that, Jeff, you run up there and try to help that lady, they're going to shoot you, and that's going to be the end of that. So there's got to be something else that we can do to actually, make this not happen so often. It seems to be happening a little bit more often.
Look, what we need to do is...
You dying is not going to help anybody.
I know, and you're right, but what we need to do is we need to demand these officers, and we need to send the message very clearly. These officers no longer work for the people of whatever cities he's in. But of course, people are going to watch the videos, they're going to go watch their football team, and then they're going to all go back to sleep.
Listen, I'm not talking to the people that want to watch football, and that's more important than seeing some 72-year-old woman slammed on the ground. That's not the person we're speaking to. We're talking about folks like you and I, people that give a shit about their fellow neighbor, and this type of thing, Jeff. So let's, when I say let's have a nationwide discussion, we already know 50 million idiots think Hillary Clinton is the salvation of this country. So we can already put 50 million idiots in the toilet.
Yeah.
We also think there's another 50 million idiots that are going to vote for the conservative guys or for the establishment on the right. So let's go ahead and throw them in the toilet. I'm talking to the people that have had enough of this type of, police state that we live in.
Well, like I said, we need to demand. Wherever, I don't know where this happened. I'll pull it up because I watched a blip of it as I reposted it for April.
In other words, whatever that lady did, let me just talk for a second. Whatever that lady did could not have possibly warranted being thrown to the ground. No. Let her flail around. Let her decide to be abstinent, and not listen to their commands. How is that hurting them? In other words, nothing could have risen to the level of they needing to slam her on the ground like that. And there's no acceptable. But here, I don't know when this happened. I just saw it, so I don't know if it happened 2 years ago or 10 years ago or 5 minutes ago. But, watch what happens to those police officers. Unless the chief of whoever that department is, takes a look at the video, gets all the statements and everything, and fires those guys, then, and then, of course, the union will step in and say, well, they shouldn't have been fired. They were just doing their job, whatever. There's no reason for them to harm her like they did. So
no, we need to start demanding more. We need to start going to the commission meetings and demanding. And I think we need to be a little. You talk about what we need to do. It should never get to that point. So I think that what we need to do, for me, and this is, I'm going to go to the next public safety commission meeting, and I'm going to ask what their policies are. To avoid these types of instances, and what kind of training.
Well, their policies are moving targets.
I know. But that's where we can do is start putting them on notice is look, we've seen this, we've seen the police brutality. So you, Mr. Police Chief, you, Mr. Sheriff, what are your policies? What is the process? Let's get it out in the open so that
Mr. Norton, it's none of your business.
Well, that it is my bit. I'm paying your salary. I'm not paying you enough, and they're going to come back. Well, you're not paying me enough. But the thing is that, and you know what? When they say that, it will be on the air that night. So, because I will record
Mr. Norton, it's none of your concern.
Exactly.
Go back to doing whatever it is you do.
Yeah.
Go watch your football game.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, folks. This. We talk about an epidemic in this country of soldiers killing themselves and that type of thing. We have an epidemic in this country, and it's called apathy. People are not. They're not engaged in their daily lives in a sense of what's happening around them. They're so focused on internally what's going on, and that's. And I'd say that's, probably true for the Patriot movement at large. Once the entire nation of patriots decides and makes a conscious decision that, hey, enough is enough, then I guarantee it'll stop tomorrow. It'll stop tonight. Once the entire nation says I've had enough, then it will stop tonight. It'll stop immediately because, I can do many things myself. I mean, I can build a boat. I can build a house. Hell, there's many things I can build. But imagine the things I could build if I had a community of people working with me. Okay, the sky would be the limit, and so I can't get the vision of them slamming that woman on the ground.
I know it sticks with you. It sticks with you. It's like the beheading videos of the the Muslims, the beheading of the Christians. Yeah, we reported yesterday they locked 50 Christians in a pastor's home and lit it on fire to kill them all. And of course, you don't hear about that on mainstream media. And then today, it just came out in Syria. This is in Nigeria. Then today we found out we were going to talk about it. The Syrian rebels in Syria, they're finding out that they're throwing their victims, innocent people and stuff in ovens, and they're cooking them. It's just, and you don't hear about that on mainstream media.
Right.
And Syrian rebels throw civilians in ovens. It just came out in the news today. Well, in the alternative news, and
but guess what we're doing right here in America? We're supposed to be the land of the free and the home of the brave. We're throwing 72-year-old women on the concrete face first.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, where's your moral? I guess where's your moral compass? I agree. Where's your moral compass? On that?
Well, I mean, putting people in an oven is not a good thing either. But the atrocities that when we were children that we heard about, they didn't seem to happen here in America.
Yeah.
They're happening in America now.
Yeah.
And they're happening by the people that we're supposed to be looking upon to protect us and help us and be a part of our, the solution rather than part of the problem. And
they've said, and that's the thing is that they're escalating it. To your point, it was very few and far between, and I don't know if it's because of the epidemic of social media and the fact that we have cameras everywhere. You can't go anywhere in this country anymore without being on a camera.
I don't think it happened as much as you would think. I mean, it's
I think a cop. Talking to my father who grew up, and he would say, a cop will wrap you up or whatever, and send you on your way. But these beatings that they're doing, but you're seeing it every day.
To get wrapped on that, wrapped up a little bit and then be able to go home. That's and heal. That's with your tail between your legs. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But to be wrapped up, beaten, and then thrown into a cage, and then spend $10,000 trying to get out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think there's definitely an epidemic here. I think, but once again, I think it goes back to the whole agenda. Put on the tin hats again, because we have reports, we have the documents where the police forces are intentionally hiring people who they know have a mental capacity to and the ability to carry out such crimes. They're intentionally seeking those individuals out, the ones that don't have the moral compasses, because they're the individuals that they're going to call upon when they, have to turn their guns against us, you and I.
Well, I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and if you go to my website, which is stoneanthony2016.com, one of my issue positions is talking about the sheriff's departments in this country. And you know, I'm a huge fan of the sheriff's departments because I want my law enforcement folks to raise their right arm and swear an allegiance and an oath to the Constitution of the United States, which means they are elected by the people to protect those rights. Because let's face it, there is evil, so we do need a law enforcement segment. So I'm asking the patriots of this nation to embrace on a huge level our sheriff's departments, because you don't hear police chiefs, around the country talking about, well, we're not gonna enforce gun control laws. What we hear them saying is we're not gonna enforce illegal criminal alien laws. Okay, and that's what you get out of them, because they're hired by the system. They're hired by the politicians. Okay, and so they're beholden to the politicians, whereas the sheriffs are hired by the people. And so I think that we as a patriot nation, I'm speaking to the patriots now, need to reach out to them and support them any way that we possibly can, because they are going to be a huge part of what we're going to, what we're about to do here in the next couple of years. I want to know how much. Well, I guess we have plenty of time, but I had a lot of questions this week about the Electoral College.
Yeah.
Okay. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
I'm waiting.
And I'm in no, by no means an Electoral College, expert, but I do know how it works, and I wanted to say it on the air that, folks, when we win this election by the popular vote, the establishment's ace in the hole is the Electoral College. And so, having said that, I want folks to understand something, that we can win the Electoral College if we all get out to vote on November 8th, okay? The math is there. Now, they're not bound by any law or anything to vote their Electoral College votes for me, but they're going to have a hell of a time explaining why they did not after I won the popular vote in every district in every state of the union. Okay, so don't allow them to threaten you or to make it seem like you can't win, that we can't win this thing, because we can win this thing. All right, the Electoral College is put into place for many different reasons. Some I agree with, some I may not agree with, but it's what we have, so we have to work in that system, or at least right now, until it changes at some point if it needs to be changed. But we can win this thing, and don't let anybody ever tell you that we can't. Okay, and that's just important. So if anybody wants to know how the Electoral College works, they can certainly call me, or they can look it up on the internet. But it's not an evil thing. It's not something that we need to be afraid of. We can overcome it, and we will. But it's going to require my plan being implemented on Election Day without flaw. Okay, and it's a very simple plan, so it's not like you have to learn a whole lot of things. It just simply means vote on Election Day and stay at your polling place on Election Day. Because if you're in a polling place where there's 1,000 people that vote in that particular polling place, at the end of that evening, they're going to announce the results. Now, everybody there that's a Stone Anthony supporter, let's say that number is 800 people, okay? And they all go in and vote for Stone Anthony, and that's 800 votes. And Hillary gets 100, and Ted Cruz gets 100. Well, at the end of the evening, when they announce the results, if Hillary got 800, and Stone got 100, and Ted Cruz got 100, the 800 people that are standing there need to say, that's not correct. That's not possible. And at that point, they need to seize those election results. I'm talking about the people need to secure those election results right there on that spot. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Now, if you see a guy walking into the polling place throughout the day 3 times with a big smile on his face, you need to take a picture of him, you need to grab a sheriff, and you just swear out an affidavit right there And that sheriff needs to get that person's information, and it needs to be documented. Folks, if we can document 5-10 million instances of fraud, then, we have a leg to stand on after the fact. But if we start complaining on the 9th and the 10th about, how much fraud there was, nobody's going to be listening. It's called sour grapes.
Yeah.
But if we gather the proof that day, okay, we might be able to, to not allow them to steal our election from us again.
Yep.
And the other thing, and I'm speaking to my biker buddies or anybody that wants to participate in this aspect. If a bus shows up with a big Hillary sign on the side of it and those 50 people get off and go in and vote, I need 3 or 4 of my biker buddies to follow that bus and make sure it goes to the Golden Corral for buffet night, okay? Not 10 miles down the road to another library, okay?
Yeah.
And vote again. And if that happens, they need to find a sheriff and they need to swear out an affidavit. And that sheriff needs to get everybody's information.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing, too, is we can get a list of voters for a particular voting location. You understand what I'm saying? So if there are 1,000 registered voters at that polling place, then it's not possible for 1,200 people to vote. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I agree. And that is that.
And my mother and father are dead, okay, and I happen to vote in the same place that my parents would have voted. If my parents' names are still on that and they voted, that's a problem. Because both of them been dead one's been dead for 30 years and one's been dead for 15 years.
Yeah.
So my point there is that if there's only 1,000 registered voters in that particular polling place, which is public, knowledge, in other words, it's public information, we can get those rolls. We can effectuate a lot of change, folks. Do not allow yourself to be talked into staying home that day. I need every patriot in this country to get up that morning and go to their polling place and plan to be there all day. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be organizing poll captains and things like that are going to be in charge of, maybe different shifts, this kind of stuff. But at no time can a polling place be left unmanned with less than 50 to 100 patriots.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yep. No, I mean,
Okay.
I agree.
Now, there's election, there's laws and things like that we have to follow, like being 50 feet from the front door, no signage, within 50 feet and this type of thing. So, we're going to play by their rules, but we're not going to let them steal this election from us.
Yep.
And we talked about this last week. Barack Obama lost his first election as senator in Illinois. He lost that election.
Oh, yeah.
He sued. He took the lady to court. But he knew where the fraud was because he's the one that set it up. So he was able to get that election results reversed. And then he became anointed as the senator from Illinois.
Yeah.
People may or may not know that. But we're not going to let that happen to us again. All this protesting that you see going on, all this rallying of the troops and the Constitution is important. It doesn't amount to a hill of beans if you're not willing to take November 8th off from work. I mean, you've got to take it off from work. There's, you can't work that day and then show up at your polling place at 5 o'clock. Okay, you need to be there all day long or be a part of a team that's going to be there. You understand what I'm saying, Jeff?
No, I got you. I got you. I mean, look, we got to protect our constitutional rights because no one else is, and that's the number one folly that as us as citizens have is that we don't stand up and we don't protect our constitutional rights. And when Ben Franklin said you don't do it, they're going to go away, and that's exactly what's happened. And our right to vote is our last right for controlling our government, or the last resort for controlling our government. And if you allow them to steal the elections and you allow them to steal your vote, thus your voice, then you deserve to lose it. And you're absolutely correct. And we need to start.
It's game over.
We need to.
In other words, listen, I'm out here trying to capture 115 million votes. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to reach out to 115 million patriots, or people that call themselves a patriot. Okay. I believe there's citizens, there's patriots, and then there's true patriots. We need the patriots of this nation, whether you're a true patriot, that when you cut your arm, you start bleeding red, white, and blue. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And then there's your patriots that when you cut yourself, you just bleed red.
Yeah.
But you're still patriots. You still believe that there's a thing called a Constitution and that you have certain unalienable rights that were given to you by something greater than all of us. Okay. None of that matters if you're not at your polling place on election day. You have got to be there. Period. End of story. If we're not, because we already know that 100 million people are going to vote for the establishment because that's all that ever votes. Okay, it's not like we're making that up. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I didn't just pull that out of my ass and say, okay, 100 million people are, oh my gosh, I need 200 million. Oh my gosh, no. The math is very.
Yeah.
Very,
it's scientific. They have it. They hire the mathematicians and the experts. It's scientific.
So what we're going to do is we're going to show them that Americans have some resolve, that they still care about their country, okay? And we are going to place our vote for the people that we want to run our country. And it no longer is going to include the bankers and the corporations and the people that have been destroying and stealing our treasure for the last 50 to 140 years. We've got to stop it. And that, like you said just a moment ago, that's our voice. That's our only mechanism right now. Let me tell you something. If I were president right now, in other words, if I were Barack Hussein Anthony, okay, and I saw that video, and let's say that video happened today, I swear to all that is holy.
Oh.
I would call Air Force One and I would say, put some fuel in that bitch right now because we're going to wherever that happened. Let's say it was Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Personally, I'm going there to make sure that something happens to those officers from a punishment standpoint. And I'm not talking about 2 years from now when all the evidence is gone and been hidden. What I saw in that videotape, somebody's going to answer for that, and they're going to answer for it immediately because you know what? That lady, that older lady, she's having to answer for whatever happened to her right now.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. For whatever crime she supposedly committed, she's
paid for it, and plus interest. Okay?
Yep. I agree.
So that, this is, and if people think I'm kidding about that, now keep in mind, I can't fly to 15,000 different places every day. So, that's why I say the Patriot movement needs to keep going even beyond that, because if we truly are a self-governing nation, then folks start acting like it. Start self-governing.
Yep. Start demanding justice.
Raise your morality. Start policing your neighborhoods, policing yourselves. Now, most of this crime that we're talking about is probably not committed by a majority of the patriots of this nation. It's the folks that are standing over there going, my doggone Obama phone just ran out of minutes. I got to go get me another one.
Yeah.
Man, that really pisses me off.
Yeah.
And then they go down to the corner store and get a bottle of liquor and get more minutes put on their Obama phone.
On their Obama phone. Exactly. So, hey, Stone, we're bumping up against the 11:30. I gotta wrap things up. And
all right, brother.
Man, it's been good talking to you. You only got disconnected twice tonight versus 5 times last time you were on.
I know.
You're not doing enough to upset the establishment, my friend.
I guess not. I'll have to try harder. But Facebook did call and they said that they'll be contacting you soon about your Patriot FB.
I'm still in jail. They put me back. I tried to invite.
Right.
I tried to invite. And the reality of it is obviously terms and conditions, and they just came out with a new one that we're going to talk about here as we wrap up. But they are costing me revenue. That's how we get our message out. That's how we get and the reality of it is that we signed up and we paid when we first signed up for, postings and stuff like that. And I made an investment. I want my money back because every time I get the message that I can't post anymore, I always send them an email. Why? Can you please explain to me why I cannot post anymore?
Right.
Please.
Well, that's good. That's good. Well, can I give a shout out to how people can get involved?
Absolutely. Give them your information.
Okay. Again, I'm Stone Anthony, and I'm running for president for 2016, and my website is www.stoneanthony2016.com, and there we've got a petition on the site, because as everybody knows that's paying attention, that this is a nation that has somehow worked itself into a two-party system. But I'm waging a campaign of the likes that America's never seen before, okay? Because I'm asking all patriots to get on board, not just the the few. So what I decided to do, Jeff, is each time I'm on the show with you, I'm going to name the folks that joined, that signed the petition during the show. And I got a Mr. Hughes out of Lebanon, Ohio. I got a Miss Procarion in Arcadia, Oklahoma. I got a Miss Carl in Bellefontaine, Ohio, and a Mr. Black in Butte, Montana. So apparently they're listening to your show and either.
Oh yeah, they're on the actually. It's funny. They're on the chat.
Oh, okay, good. Well, the beauty of that is that it's working, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate the ability to to have these conversations with you, and it's an important because like I said earlier in the show, we're not gonna get the attention of the mainstream media until it becomes convenient for them, but it may not be convenient for me at the time. So, Patriots, stay the course, stay focused, and we're going to do this. There is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Absolutely. And I'm going to carry that torch for you, man, as far as the 22 soldiers. I'm already reaching out to a couple of my production guys, and we're going to do a nice little advertisement that we're going to get out on all the shows here, and to get that out there. So we'll get that produced, and so hopefully you'll get out tomorrow, and I don't know if they'll be there tomorrow, but they'll be there in the next couple of days, where you'll hear all the shows that are on the Midnight Patriot. Also,
well, if you could print that letter out at some point and read it on the air, that would be fantastic.
I will
too, because
I will.
It's to the Veterans Administration, and they should be ashamed of themselves for what they're doing. And it's just it's a symptom of a broken government.
Exactly. So exactly. So, all right, Stone, it's been great, my friend. Time flies. Time flies. Take care of yourself. I'll talk to you a little bit later. There you go, Stone Anthony, 2016 presidential candidate, and and it's so important. He's asking you guys, those that are out there listening, to go out and sign the petition. Allow him to at least have the opportunity. He's got to have over 1 million signatures before he can even get into the fight. He's already in the fight. He's in the thrones of it right now. But we need to get him the 2 million signatures. We can get him 2 million signatures if we can do it. Now, we're going to go on the road next summer, and we're going to travel. I'm going with him. We're going to travel across this great nation. We're going to be reporting live. It's kind of what we were going to do with the show anyways, is show up the mom and pop diners and sit around and talk to fellow Americans and everything. And that's what this show's all about. So if you'd like to give us a call, lines are open, obviously. It's 1-800-580-4870. We got about 30 minutes left in the show. We can sit down and kind of talk about some of the topics that are out there. I know on the chat room, if you join us at patriotfb.com, that's patriotfb.com, sign in with your Facebook account or just create your own account. You can join us in the chat room. Each of our shows that we have on here has their own dedicated chat room, and tonight's the Midnight Patriot show, obviously. Some of the things that have been going out there, and I want to address it. Tomorrow we're going to have, I think, an explosive show. And because there's some information that's been floating around in our I'm just going to say our head librarian, it's not derogatory, Joe, our head librarian, our head historical fact checker, our research, all things research, we're going to give this man a PhD in patriotism. But Joe's going to be joining us. We're going to be talking about some revelations that have been going on. And, these are huge. And I think it goes back to some of the things that I've been saying is that, this administration, if you listen to J.J. McCartney show back in December 3rd or 2nd of this year, we have a link on our website, but you can go on at themidnightpatriot.com. But if you go back to the archives and listen to it, I think, and I'm a firm believer in this, that I think there was an honest effort to possibly cause an event in the United States. It didn't go as planned. So I think this administration and this government and this new world order is kind of punted. They kind of backed off of that plan. And so now, what I'm hearing, what I'm rumbling or hearing the rumbles about is the fact that there is a plan for an economic collapse. Now, that's something that they can control. That's something that it can happen. We all know that we're financially in a dire strait here in the United States and also the world economies. So that is another way that they can push a total collapse of society and thus, impose their martial law and new world order. Caller, you're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show. Give your first name and where you're calling from, my friend.
Yeah, it's Whoopi from Indiana.
Yeah. Hey, how are you, my friend?
Great. If I was any better, I'd be twins.
You would be twins. That's a good one. I haven't heard that one. That's a new one. So what can I do for you? What do you want to talk about? We have about 20 more minutes. So what do you want to talk?
Well, I'm just glad to listen to Stone again tonight on your program. Can't wait to meet him when he comes to Indiana.
Yep.
Lord willing, I'll be escorting him. And I left a message before on your voicemail.
Sure.
About you were talking earlier about the EPA.
Yes.
Well, the steel plant that I work at built a acid regeneration station. Okay. They take the spent pickle liquor and they heat it up and they pull the iron out of it to sell it, and then we reuse the acid. In the Philippines, they don't reuse the acid.
Yeah.
They dump it in the river. Now, if we're going to compete globally with anything, either we quit accepting their imports, their goods that they're shipping here.
Yep.
Or they fess up and follow the rules that help society. Period. You know what I'm saying, Jeff?
No, I agree with you, and that's one of the things. We don't have to impose tariffs and stuff. We all, we could just say, look, we're just not going to buy your products. But to be honest with you, the power elite and everything, it's all about money. It's all about revenue. And if they can make it, it's not like they're having to drink that water. It's not like they're washing their clothes or using it for their food, so they don't care.
They don't care.
Yeah, they can care less about it. And that's the sad point. But you're absolutely correct. What we can do stop buying the products. And I know that's hard, and I know it's very hard because a lot of the product, but, stop buying those products. If you know what they are, stop buying them and refuse to buy, and let the economies handle it. And I know a lot of people say that's a lost cause, but that's what we can do now, for right now.
It's not a lost cause. Not if every one of us do it. A good friend and I of mine, we rode in the Toys for Tots biker ride in Chicago this year.
Yeah.
You take toys and it's for the kids.
Yep,
the Marines
absolutely.
put it on. You know the ride I'm talking about?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Well, we got there and we lined up and, they were selling sweatshirts and T-shirts and stuff. And so we went over and we were going to buy some, Toys for Tots. And the first one I got in my hands was made in Honduras. And I told her I didn't want it. Asked her if she had any made in America. And she wasn't sure. And so she looked through some more, and she gave me another one. That one was made in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And I told her I didn't want it, Jeff. And she said, well, it was for the kids. And I said, exactly. It's for the kids in this country. The kids in this country, my grandkids.
Yeah.
Your kids.
Yep.
I'm not slamming Toys for Tots. I'm not slamming the Marine Corps by any means.
Yeah.
But, people need to look for that stuff.
No, we do. And the problem is that and we also need to make sure our government, we need to hold our government accountable because they're actually, what is made in America versus what isn't. And, just because it's assembled here and stuff. So you got to kind of understand that. But there is, and that is one of the things that we are going to be adding to our patriotfb.com website. Is that we are putting in a business directory. And what this business directory is basically, obviously our businesses, that we have the kind of, so we can, help each other out by supporting each other, number one. But the other thing too is that you will be able to list products and services that are truly made in America, the corporation. So like say you're looking for a generator, what company, makes generators in America? We have one right here in Wisconsin, that makes them in Generac. So, the types of things that we're going to do to kind of help you. And that's, And that is a feature or an enhancement that we are releasing to the site. It's actually in the next release. As far as, that one, and also our document management system is definitely going to make it into the next release. And the release is coming within the next couple of days. So, that's what you can do. I mean, you can also, if you know of a product or a service that's made in America, you can, put it up there so other people can see. What I live in, obviously here in Wisconsin, Harley Davidson's talking about now making motorcycles in India. And,
dude, don't get me started on that.
I know. I know.
I ride a Honda
that
was made in Marysville, Ohio, and I've ordered parts for it from Honda Direct.
Yeah.
Had to put a new radiator on it, and it came, and it was made in America. So, yeah, there's a line there that you can cross.
Yep.
But, we do need to put people to work here. No question about it. I have a lot of biker friends, and some of them tell me, Jeff, that there's more parts made in America on my bike than there is on theirs.
Yes,
I know. And they're riding a Harley.
I know. I know.
There's a line there. Hey, but before I forget, I've tried to join Patriot FB multiple times.
Yes. What is it doing specifically?
When I click on your link, okay, it takes me right to Facebook, and it puts me in a continuous loop that I cannot get out of unless I close the window, bro.
That is all right, so what that is the cache on your computer. It's cached. It's a cache. So you got to clear out the cache. But this is what I tell people.
I'm only mobile. I'm on my phone. That's it.
Oh, so you got it on your phone. So there might be an issue.
Android.
Yeah, there might be an issue with the Android browser. I will look into that. But let me tell you, I tell everybody that signs up, we put the Facebook up there to kind of make it easy for everybody. But there's going to be a time, and this actually goes back to a conversation that's going on in the chat room right now. There's going to be a time where Facebook, they're not going to be happy with us. There's nothing legally they can do to us, but they're not going to be happy with us. And what they can do is they can turn off the connection that allows you to use the Facebook authentication. They could do that.
Yeah.
So I tell everybody.
I know.
It's
Jeff,
Facebook.
Facebook has been a good thing.
Yeah.
To a lot of things, like the 2 million biker group that rode to DC.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, how else are you going to get, that many people,
exactly,
from all over the country to come together?
I agree.
Like that, unless they have a social media site like that.
Yep.
But it still causes problems.
Yes.
My account, my Facebook account, has been hacked 3 times.
Yeah. Oh, I don't doubt it. Don't doubt it at all. And that's why we've spent the money, on security.
Hello.
Well, I'm here. No, I'm here. So, but going back to what I was saying earlier, instead of using your Facebook account, I would just register natively. And when I say natively, just fill out the information there and register in that way. You're going to be better.
I can't hear you anymore.
Yeah.
I appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work. If you can hear me,
yep.
God bless you.
Yep. Thank you, my friend. Take
care
of yourself. Yep. Bye. So, like I said, is that, and then once you have your account, go to your account settings in your account and actually add your password secondary to your Facebook, because all Facebook does is it uses the authentication, but it will pre-fill out your information based upon what you had in Facebook. So you can add your own password if you wanted to. And then that way, if you ever get disconnected from Facebook or that doesn't work or they turn that off for us and stuff, you can still log into your Patriot FB account and everything, because, they could flip the switch at any given time and say, well, you can no longer use our service. So that's something that I recommend that everybody should do, and as a added resource, because we're going to upset some people. There's no doubt about it. We're already doing it. My account's been turned off at Facebook, the Midnight Patriot website, or the account for Midnight Patriot. I can't post anything to anybody through that account because, apparently I posted to people that didn't want to get my post. Well, how's that? They befriended me. I don't understand that logic. They made me their friend, and yet they turn around and say Facebook says that they didn't want to receive my post. So, it's all games. It's all games. And we know that. So, like I said earlier, some great things happen at patriotfb.com. We're adding more podcasts tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Listen to Michael at American Voices Now. He starts at 8. He does a 2-hour show. Then follow up with J.J. McCarty. He does his show at 2. And then, of course, we have the Midnight Patriot show. And then we're going to be interjecting different shows throughout the day. We will get a set schedule. We're still building all of that out. So once we have that, we'll get that schedule out there so that way you can kind of see what's coming up. Cowboy Logic joined the family just tonight. So it's great to have them on. And it's incredible. We're growing. We're affecting change here and everything. So, obviously, let's talk a little bit about some news so we can wrap up the night. Some things that we didn't get to. Here's Obamacare coming to a hospital near you. Your anesthesiologist to cut costs. I just want to let you guys know to cut costs. The hospitals are now implementing a robotic anesthesiologist. The anesthesiologist is the one that puts you under when you go to surgery. So they're starting to introduce robotic anesthesiologists to help you. You know that there was more Americans killed by malpractice in doctors' offices than guns in the United States. I mean, we're talking 1,000 times more, almost 100,000 times more. More Americans are killed by doctors than they are by guns in the United States. Where's the ban? Where's the outcry? Where's the media? Hey, Pierce. Hey, Pierce. Why don't you? And it's really funny because, you got more Americans. Think about this. Think about the consumer protection laws here for a second. You got more Americans being killed by a doctor's office, but yet you have an administration who's trying to push us all to doctors. Kind of doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense at all. Well, it does make sense if you're part of the New World Order and you want to control population. You want to have control and you want to have dominance over mankind. Makes perfect sense. But you and I, logically it doesn't make sense. But think about that. There's over 158,000 Americans killed every year by doctors, hospitals. Just throwing those numbers out there for you. I don't know, and this has got to be hard. And kudos, I have to go back and start watching the '70s show. I was never a fan of Aston Christian. I don't get his name correct. I was never really a big fan of him, but he actually stood up today to Ellen DeGeneres. Or, I don't know if it was today, but it was posted today, where Aston Christian got up there and basically, talked about the entitlement and the mentality of America. And he said that he, when he was getting his award and he was at the teen award, Nickelodeon, he said, he doesn't know how many, he'll be invited back for obvious reasons. But so he took that opportunity to talk to the young people out there about the entitlement mentality and how it's destroying this country. So hats off to you, Aston. I'm gonna have to go watch the '70s show. You're not the lame brain. Actually, Rodney Conover, who apparently knows him or has worked with him and stuff, said that he's actually a pretty intelligent individual. So there you go. Once again, it's amazing. He must be probably an outstanding actor. Here's one for you. Denver, Colorado now is trying to decriminalize marijuana for minors. Remember that? Oh, yeah, we're going to have rules. We're going to pass this law about marijuana. And it's going to be strict. And now they're talking about decriminalizing it for minors. And like I said, the reason why they want to decriminalize, they want us dumb. We're going to do in a matter of months to our minds and our mental states what they've been trying to do with fluorinated water and all the poisons they've been putting in our food supply. So of course they're going to be for this. Of course they're going to be for it. And that's in Colorado, whatever. We already talked about Medicaid in Oregon. After you die, they're going to come after your estate to pay back the money that they paid you for the health care that they forced you to have. Another thing, we talked about Facebook extensively. I think this is what got me in jail to begin with. I was very critical of Zuckerberg and the fact that he was for amnesty for aliens. Well, of course he is. He wants cheap technology labor. It has nothing to do with his compassion for the human condition. It has everything to do with cheap labor. If he was so concerned about mankind, why is he showing up at Bilderberg meetings? Trilateral, I know for a fact he was at Bilderberg. He doesn't care about you and I. He cares about cheap labor. It's all about cheap labor for him. So, but going back to Facebook, here we go. This is probably definitely going to get me kicked off. Facebook, in their privacy agreement, they are now watching your keystrokes. So as you're logged into Facebook, they are watching what you're typing, regardless if you posted on their site or not, because of it's called JavaScript. It's a type of code. And they're able to watch your mouse clicks. They're able to watch what you're typing. This is a plan that they put in place a while back. Now, I will tell you, at patriotfb.com, we don't do that. That's not something that we do. I have no desire. See, our engine is built for patriots. It's not built for marketing and making money on Wall Street. See, and the reason why they put those things in there is so that way they can go back and they can grab those analytics, like Google Analytics, so then they can report back to their advertising agencies and their marketing agencies, and they can, tell where people put their mouths so that the way they can target ads and sell you more cheap crap made in China. There you go. I just said it. Cheap crap made in China. So not only did I piss off Zuckerberg, I'm probably going to piss off the Chinese. I don't care. That's just the way it is. Ain't going to silence me. Ain't going to happen. So, just want to let you guys know, all you Facebookers out there, they are now tracking your mouse movements on the site. They're also tracking your what you're typing, and it is possible that they can actually track what you're typing outside of Facebook. If the browser's open and they're running scripts, they could do that. So I just want to kind of give you guys a heads up. We talked about this gentleman who actually took the government to task here, filed a federal lawsuit, Larry Clement. Now, this is scary. This is scary. And the crux of his law, well, there's a lot of things obviously from the eavesdropping and everything. This gentleman's computer, the NSA has been using malware. Malware's, it's malicious ware. It's malicious software. Malware is an acronym, or not an acronym, a breakdown of malicious software. So they call it malware. They place this on a target's computer, and then, of course, it does its thing, be it looking at keystrokes, Facebook, or be it look at files, transmit files, whatever it is. Whatever it is. And we know that our government has extensive expertise in this because they did the Sussex worms. That brought down the Iranian power plants. Well, apparently this individual, Larry's computer, started sending out emails that he did not have anything to do with. His computer just sent them out. And come to find out, it was the NSA. The NSA basically took over his computers and they did it. So what does that mean? All right. So if you're a target of this government, they can put malware on your computer. And then they can make your computer do whatever they want it to do, be it send out emails, maybe go to child pornography sites, maybe go to a site that would be discrediting towards you or against you. See how this works? This is a government that's out of control. And they've done it. They did it to Larry. It's not that this isn't a hypothetical conspiracy theory. They did it. The federal judge ruled in his favor for this. So, obviously, am I concerned? Absolutely, I'm concerned. Absolutely. Now, some of the precautions that you can take, there's not a whole lot, to be honest with you. They can plant whatever they want after the fact because they can get your computer and stuff. But I will flat out tell you, your computer should have a PGP encryption All your data on your computer should be encrypted. And I'm not talking encrypted as industry encrypted. Don't use the Microsoft encryption because they got keys that will unlock that. You need to go out to a site like PGP or one of those pretty good privacy, a PGP site, which is an open source encryption tool, and you need to use those on your computer. Those are so effective that there was an individual who was prosecuted and the government couldn't crack it. So they held him in contempt until he wrote the password in. But it works. It works. You know, so you need to do that. Those are the precautions. You know, I got other precautions that I take as well. Because once you get in the eye of this government, they're going to do everything possible to discredit you, to destroy you. They will hire their goons and they'll spread lies. I know. There have been some horrible things said already. I've gotten to death threats. I don't care, though. I don't care. Because I know the fight that I'm fighting is a good fight. It's an honest fight. It's a patriotic fight. And I'm going to fight. And I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up. Nor should you. But as we wind down and everything, I just want to tell everybody thank you. Thank you once again. It's been a great, thanks Stone. Thanks Tim for giving a call, Mark, for joining. All you guys out there at Patriot FB who's been texting me and stuff. And this is awesome. This is awesome. And I just want to tell Andrew out there, yes, they have come to my door. 2 days after I started the show, I had the gang unit at my house. Never had any interaction with the law enforcement.